Contrary to what its title might have you believe, it turns out that 1987's Final Fantasy would not be the Final Fantasy. Work on a sequel quickly began, with Hironobu Sakaguchi returning to the director's chair. For the series' second outing, the team decided they wanted to take things in some very different directions. For one, they decided to set FF2 in a totally new locale, with new characters and a brand new storyline. This way, players wouldn't need to worry about having played the first one before jumping in, and they'd be familiar with 2's story beats since most of them were lifted directly from The Empire Strikes Back. Beyond the setting, the game's leveling system received a major overhaul. Instead of the traditional experience system found in virtually every RPG ever made, party members in Final Fantasy II gain proficiency with weapons, spells, and shields simply by using them more and more over time. With this system, any character could theoretically be trained in any skill set, doing away with the first game's more rigid class options. Alas, the US wouldn't see the game released until over a decade later. After a great length of translation time in which a localized version was never completed, the team decided to simply skip ahead to Final Fantasy IV in the States. But here on this show, we're not skipping over the true sequel to the original. While its experience system was never repeated, it represents a step forward for the franchise in many other ways, and introduces series mainstays like the character of Cid and the Chocobo. It's time now to gear up our party and fight for the rebellion as we play Final Fantasy II. It's a video game podcast.
Wow.
And there's so much to discuss. One of us knows all about them.
That's you.
And the other one's a dunce.
That's me.
You're gonna learn about the very best games with 2 annoying dorks.
Fatality.
From asteroids to Zelda. From adventure to Zork. We have no life, and we feel no shame. We need your help, 'cause we're bad with games. Bad with games. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan.
My name is Will.
And we are Bad with Games.
Oh man, long awaited, anticipated follow-up to an excellent older episode this week on the show. We'll be covering Final Fantasy II.
The crowd goes nuts.
Thank you.
That's right. The sequel to the original Final Fantasy. This one, now you know it's got a complicated history. Yes.
I mean, I'm aware of that mostly from the hoops we had to jump through for me to play this.
There weren't any hoops. Come on. I sent you a file and you played it. It wasn't hard.
I mean, yes, that's true.
I went through like one hoop and then I put the hoop over your head.
Well, why don't you give some context so that I can expand on what I mean by that?
Christ, I'm trying. This game was released in 1988 for the Famicom in Japan. Now, when it came time, there was a plan to release this game in English in America. There is an unfinished prototype floating around out there that you can find where they started to translate it to English. Keep in mind, the first Final Fantasy game came out in 1987.
Yeah, I was about to say, I had not checked the date for this, and I was going to say only a year later?
This is 1 year later.
All right. Okay.
So what ended up happening was it just took so long for them to get around to completing the English translation. They never did. That by the time they were like, hey, we should maybe release a new Final Fantasy game in America, in Japan, they were already about to release Final Fantasy IV. And the Super Nintendo was already out. This is an NES Famicom game. And they were like, well, it's going to look kind of stupid in 1992 or whatever if they're looking at these shitty old graphics. So like, fuck this one. From now on in America, Final Fantasy IV is Final Fantasy II. And so for many years, kids in America thought Final Fantasy IV was the second Final Fantasy game, were unaware, unless they were importers or read magazines maybe, that there were two other games they completely missed out on.
Okay, I was about to ask, what about Final Fantasy III? Did that also get skipped over? And it sounds like the answer is yes.
The answer's I didn't look into that one as deeply, but I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. They were both gone. Both did not get released in America until years and years later. There was like a PlayStation port, or not even really. I think it was a sort of a remake. And then there was like a GBA version, and now there's the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters that you can get 1 through 6. So now, finally, all these years later, the record set straight, and in America, people understand what 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6 are. But for many years, and even probably for some people still today, if you say to them Final Fantasy 2, they might be thinking Final Fantasy 4.
Mm-hmm.
But we're playing the real Final Fantasy 2.
The real actual one. Yes, I maybe this is getting a little bit into the lore a little early, but I was going to say, like, before I started this episode, I didn't know that in the early Final Fantasies, something kind of like fucky happened, right? Like there's Final Fantasy 1, and then there's like some, and then it starts making sense again. And so I guess this is kind of what I was vaguely aware of here.
Yeah, it is confusing. We're gonna work through it. We're all gonna get through it together.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have the context here. I can understand a little better what was going on.
That's what this show's all about, providing context.
That's right. It's helping me understand gaming. I'm bad with games, by the way. He's the one who's good.
That's right. He's not good at games, but if you want to see our footage this week, you can check it out at youtube.com/@badwithgames. You can watch us play while you listen to us talk. Or you can just listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. There's also our sister channel, Worse with Games, where we put up our music videos and other gameplay videos sometimes. And check out our Patreon, patreon.com/badwithgames. If you like the show, you can support us over there for $5 a month, and you get bonus episodes where we cover extra video game and other content, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Plus our Discord channel's over there. Before we get into the show proper, I do need to bring back our patch notes segment for a minute.
Okay.
You know, sometimes at the beginning of the show, we have patch notes for comments or corrections or clarifications about previous episodes.
Yes.
That option's always available to you. You can always introduce your own patch notes if you feel necessary. It's up to you. But this week I have to begin the show in a way I don't like to begin shows.
Ooh. Well, that makes me happy because I like it when you're not happy.
Well, you are going to like this, unfortunately. Last week I was wrong about something.
Oh, I love it.
It doesn't happen often, so you've really got to enjoy it while you can.
I'm savoring it.
Last week we discussed Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy. And we were talking about the game in depth, of course, including its control schemes. And I kind of gave you some shit for using up on the D-pad to make Kirby fly instead of pressing A to make him tapping A, which is what I said that I did. I might have called you a dumbass or a freak or a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's
probably some along those lines. Well, in the midst of editing the episode, I went ahead and I played a little bit more again just to get some extra footage in the beginning of the Game Boy game Kirby's Dream Land, and discovered that I was wrong and misremembered, and in fact, you do have to fly with the up button, and you cannot do it with the A button. You can only jump once with the A button, and keep tapping it repeatedly will not get you in the air.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. This is the problem with leaning too heavily on your prior knowledge of the game, right? I come in as a complete blank slate, right? And so I just experience it as it is, but sometimes it might be hard for you. You don't even remember what you did because you just already knew going in what you were going to do, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it is partially because later Kirby games changed
Mhm.
that. So my muscle memory in my head, even though I wasn't doing this that week,
Mhm.
was that A is fly. And yeah, I think I'm just not paying as close attention to what I'm actually doing with the controller
Yeah.
because my fingers are just doing it.
Yeah, it is interesting to me to hear you say that this because like I imagine that in your position even if I knew like even if I was just like yes, intuitively I tap A to fly with Kirby, but in this game I have to press up. I feel like I would have noticed that. Like that would have been a thing where I was like, yes, it was jarring. I often had trouble controlling it because I went to tap A when I was trying to fly and but I didn't really have as much of that preconception. It is interesting to me that for you, you just unconsciously switch over and it doesn't like there's no change, right? There's no
Right.
like I'm hyper aware of what my fingers are doing. It's
Right.
odd. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it is truly like being able to play the piano and you're just not I'm not like thinking about where my fingers are because I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you know what I mean. You
Mhm.
understand the analogy I'm trying to make and failing at.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, in this case, it would be like you're good enough at playing the piano that somebody gave you a piano that's laid out wrong, and you went, "Oh, that's kind of weird," and then just kept going as
Mm.
though it were fine.
Yeah, imagine
Like
if every song had a different set of keys you had to learn.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like, and I could see this. I could see somebody being like in tune enough with their fingers, tune with their fingers to be able to say like, "Oh, I just need to shift them like this," and then that just unconsciously happens. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's odd to me that that would be something that you'd be consciously correcting for.
Well, it happened. That's what went down last week. So I had to get in there before we got a storm of emails and angry comments correcting me.
Well, I'll be excited to hear those in the future here.
And and there's also a point where you talk about how, oh, maybe playing that way made one boss fight harder. And I was like, yeah, you idiot. You shouldn't have done it that way. Anyway, let's get on to the actual subject of today's show, which is Final Fantasy II.
Hmm.
We've had RPG episodes in the past, including the original Final Fantasy, so I think our lore on this one is pretty well established. But is there anything you need to add for your
Yeah.
personal lore?
I mean, I think I already added it basically, I am aware of things in the Final Fantasy franchise. The early games are mostly a mystery to me. The first game I mostly knew from its sprites, which effectively means that going into the second one, I had no idea what I was going to be looking at. I was like, it's an early Final Fantasy. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. I'll repeat myself too. I've never really played the Final Fantasy series, with the exception of nine and maybe a couple of spin-offs here and there.
Hmm.
And this is my first time going through any of these early games. And also for me, this series probably more than any other on our list is the one that I personally am most excited to be like, this is a piece of video game history that I always missed out on, and I'm happy to be taking the journey of playing through them all because to me it's exciting to get to experience that for the first time.
Hmm.
There's some other series I haven't played too, but I feel like this one in particular, like I committed us to actually playing all of them and not skipping any, which a lot of people might have just said, like we're probably going to do with Dragon Quest or like what we're going to do with Ultima. They might have said, hey, just skip to 3 or skip to 4 even.
Hmm.
But no, I said not for this one. This one's special. I want to see the evolution of the franchise over time, and we'll see how that bears out on this episode.
Yeah, and we'll get to it, but I am led to believe that there are some things about the way that this game functions that are unique for the Final Fantasy series. So like that to me is also just of interest because it's so early and we're still kind of experimenting with I've got an RPG, how does it work? Right? Like these things are not
Totally.
set in stone yet. So
Yeah, 100%. We're looking at these RPGs. That's a lot of fun. Buckle in. Before we do that, though, Let's break
Hmm.
down the box art.
Yeah.
Now, this is,
Here
again,
it
we were looking at
is.
the Japanese Famicom box art for this game because there is no American box art. Unless we're not
Hmm.
looking at the GBA art or whatever the hell. We're not doing
Hmm.
that. This is an unusual box art, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It's got a very sketched, illustrated style to it.
Hmm.
It depicts a guy with a sword, and he's holding the sword in front of his face in a cool way, a red sword. And it says Final Fantasy II, and there's this kind of swirling mist of a design around it. Even I feel like the
Hmm.
text of the logo kind of has that quality
The,
to it.
well, the text of the logo is just a dragon,
Oh
right?
yeah, it is. I didn't even notice that.
Like
Well,
it's weird, but it kind of is, right? Like it's got a face up here in the F with like a little crest. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, like the yes, the crest of the F is a dragon's head. I don't know if the rest of it's a dragon though.
Yeah, maybe the rest of it's not. I just kind of figure, there's so many dragons, you can kind of make a dragon look like anything. If it's got a good dragon head and some kind of weirdo body, maybe the body just looks like the words Final Fantasy.
It's like when you ever draw or write the word bed and it looks like a bed.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Isn't there also a thing where if you write boy, you can put little dots until it looks like a face? So like boy is a boy. And the Y makes a smile. I
I don't
guess
think
I
I
was
know
really
this one.
bored in school. I would just write words. It also says Final Fantasy II on the bottom in Japanese. I
Mm.
assume that's what that says. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that would be my bet. There sure is a Roman numeral 2 at the end of it.
Yeah, there's two words and they both start with the same character, it looks like. Actually, the
Yeah, it
first two
does.
characters are the same. Hmm. Anyway, what do you think about this
Yeah, that would
box
make
art?
sense, I think. Uh, so what I think about this box set, so this drawing is very interesting to me because, like, as you said, the quality of the like line art, so to speak, whatever you want to call it, it looks very like sketched, as you said. It's not
Mhm.
like it's not this like very like clean, touched up, solid inked over style of thing that you would expect on a video game color and or cover. And the colors on it are also like they're pretty bright, but they aren't really like blended together. Like this feels like something that somebody made by hand on a piece of paper and not like a
Yes.
product for a game. Like I almost get like your friend in high school who's really cool, who's really good at drawing and like sketches edgy anime characters in their free time instead of taking notes vibes from it.
Well, I 100%. I was literally going to say, except I was going to say middle school because I mean, I guess I had friends in high school who were good at art too, but I had one friend
Mm.
in middle school in particular who was a really good artist and did kind of draw like robots and stuff in this style. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what I was going to say is that this looks like I looked over in class and my buddy was drawing this cool thing. And I was like, oh, cool thing, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to that is the market they're going for. To be fair, like that is the kind of person who would buy this game, right? I
Sure,
assume.
maybe. I don't
I
know.
assume.
I don't know what kind of people there were in the late 80s.
I guess that's fair, but to me, it does seem like perhaps this is a good image for that target audience, specifically for that reason.
Is that like a backhanded compliment? Or are we kind of in a way saying it looks like shit because it looks like a teenager drew it?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if I wanted that to be a backhanded compliment or not when I said it. I wasn't sure.
It definitely stands out. Like you would not normally see a cover like this. It looks like concept art more than a
Yeah.
game cover.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think really that is the like that's the difference between the high schooler or middle schooler and the professional artist is that this is like the super high quality image that they slaved over for a high schooler and they're super proud of, whereas this is kind of like your rough sketch concept art for like a professional. This is like it's supposed to
Hmm.
look kind of rough. It's not supposed to be. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the first game's box art. I don't know if maybe the Japanese one was different, but it had this at least the logo
Mhm.
was clearly digital text. And here that's this very different kind of font, clearly hand drawn. It kind of makes it feel like, I don't know, it makes it feel not cohesive with the rest of the series, which maybe that's appropriate for this game. But I mean, it's cool. It looks fine. It looks cool. The sword is pretty badass. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure who this character is supposed to be because it's hard to recognize them from the sprites in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an issue. But I mean, maybe
I
it's
mean,
not an issue. Maybe that's fine. It can be whichever character you think it is.
yeah, maybe there's an answer to that canonically. I don't know. I didn't look that up. We also, I mean, perhaps this is Furion, but we can talk about what
Yes.
their names are if we when we get into it. Anything else we need to say about this box art?
Um, I don't know. It seems pretty broken down to me.
You know what? There's one thing that I don't like:
Oh yeah, tell me.
the Square logo. For the company
Yeah.
Square that made this game.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, well, there's the A in Square is a fucking triangle.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. It's kind of odd.
It
Why
should be
didn't
a
they incorporate
square.
a square in there somewhere?
Yeah,
Maybe
what
the
the
E
hell?
could have been a square or the S. Those are kind of boxy letters the way they're printed here.
For sure. They really
Yeah.
fucked up on that one.
Yeah. Strange.
Name your company Triangle if you want to have fucking triangle.
Yeah. It's not even like one of those like what do you call them? The like 45 90s, like the half of a square. Like this triangle would
Mm.
two of these wouldn't make a square.
No, it'd make a rhombus or a diamond.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to see a fucking rhombus. All right. So we're talking Final Fantasy II. Now, to remind ourselves and our listeners, the first Final Fantasy game, we both liked.
Hmm.
You liked it a lot more than I did.
Hmm.
I complained more about the random battles and tedium of it, but I played through the whole game and I still overall enjoyed my time with it. For you, it's like one of your highest rated
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
games. I think
It's
it
way
might
up there,
be.
yeah.
Is it your? Yeah, I think it's your highest rated non-Nintendo game. I guess
Mm.
Tetris. I guess Tetris not was published by Nintendo, but not really a Nintendo game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, it's one. It was one of your favorites from season one.
Hmm.
I mean, should we? I guess let's just establish what this game is like. So, if you don't know, it's follows a similar format that you might expect in many ways to other RPGs of this era in the first Final Fantasy. You have a party of adventurers. The story of this one is that an evil empire has taken over and is enforcing their will on the good people of Finn, and the evil empire is Palamecia. And yeah, there will be yes.
Is Finn the original name of the land, or is it just like the castle and city? I
They
thought it
do
was
refer to it
just the
as
one.
the Kingdom of Finn.
Okay, that makes. I was thinking it was just the location, but that would make sense. That like that's whatever. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
Okay,
There is also I guess there is a capital
that's
city
like
that's also
Castle Finn or
Finn.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And the pronunciations of these things
yeah, sure.
can be debated. But and so you're three rebels whose official canon names, at least as of the later versions printed in America, are Furion, Maria, and Guy.
Hmm.
Okay. Which I did name my characters those names because I wanted to be official.
I did do that too, largely because it felt like there was actual potential lore associated with this, and I didn't want to confuse myself. Like, I'm not going to
Yeah,
go
okay.
back to the original Final Fantasy and be all like, oh yeah, everybody's talking about what Fighter did, but I named him Jake, so I'm getting confused. Which one was Fighter? Was it Jake or Rachel? No, no, I know which one's which. So
I'm glad you did that because I was a little worried for today we would have trouble
it would have
saying
been
who's who.
yes, yes. And there's another reason for that too,
Yeah,
which we'll get into when we get more into the mechanics and some of the differences between this and the other one.
absolutely we will. And so I mean that's that's the premise. You're going through dungeons, you're fighting bosses, random encounters, yada yada yada.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess we might as well just say it up front. The real big difference in this game is that the leveling system is not that of a traditional leveling system.
Hmm.
Unlike the first Final Fantasy, you don't get experience points and then it says you're level 2, you're level 3, etc. the way you'd expect.
Hmm.
Instead, every one of your little things that you do has its own bespoke level, so to
Hmm.
speak. So, using a sword, the more that you use a sword, the better at using that sword your character will get. Same
Yes.
goes for shields and even individual spells. If you use your fire
Hmm.
spell a ton, your fire spell will become much stronger. If you don't use
Yeah.
it, it will stay where it was.
Yeah, and some of these things are tracked the way you would expect with experience. Like if you use it this many times on this level of enemy, you go up or whatever. And some of these are not tracked like that. Some of these are it's a static number. The number is what it is, and whenever you use it, you have a chance to increase it, right? And if you
Yeah.
and so like you might use it 3 times and get 3 increases. You might use it 25 times and get no increases. So you just got to use it a lot, and it'll all even out in the end. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the weeds because I do also want to set a little bit of, uh, the stage just going into this game for like
Please.
what my perspective is like kind of heading into this
Please.
episode.
I'm begging you
Um,
to do that.
so I mean, the first thing that I think is important to note is that so we played a translated ROM of this
Oh,
because there
yes.
was no original uh Final Fantasy 2 for in it with an
English.
English release, correct?
Correct.
Now because of this, I didn't really get a manual.
Correct.
Um, so like I think you sent me like a dual manual that had some stuff from like a GBA and PS1 port, and what I found was that it was very wildly not helpful. Like there were too many changes and there was too much stuff that it just wasn't really helping with. Which is like, I mean, that's not really your fault or anything. We
I'm going to
just
be
didn't.
honest. I didn't even look at that.
Yeah,
I just sent
I'm
it to
not.
you just in case.
Yeah, no, I kind of tried to look at it, but it was like very clearly not going to be helpful. Because of that, I did end up using um guides more than I otherwise would have. Like I did do like a more in-depth read through of the mechanics while playing than I might otherwise have. Um And there were a couple points where I got stuck because basic ways of interacting with the game were unintuitive to me. And so I had to go look at walkthroughs to be like, what am I supposed to be doing? Why isn't it working? None of this, these are things that may have added to my frustration early on, but none of it is necessarily the game's fault because it is fully possible that it would have been clearly presented to me in a manual, which we just didn't have. But like right off the bat, that is just a thing because there are other things beyond just the leveling system in this game that are odd. Like the way you interact with characters, for example. We'll get into that as well. Um, so this is a long game. Did you beat this game this week?
Well, I want to add on to what you just said and
Hmm.
just also say specifically for anyone who's curious, we used what is a translation by someone named Chaos Rush, I believe is the name.
Okay, okay.
There are a couple different ones, so it
That's
is
right.
possible. I don't really know for sure, and technically we can never know because we don't know what they would have called some of these things
Hmm.
if this came out in America. But we might refer to like spells or items that maybe other translations call them different things. So
Yes.
that's just something to look
There,
out for, possibly even names.
yeah. Like there's a city of Paloom, which I think sometimes gets translated as Palm, for example. That
Right.
kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
remember in Final Fantasy One, even there was like originally it was called Elfland, and then later versions it
Hmm.
was Elfheim. So
Right.
it's who knows what these things would have been called or
Yeah,
whatever.
but these are even less official. So You
Yeah.
map this onto your own experience, and you'll figure it out.
I choose the website that I mainly used is this Game Corner. It's called Game Corner Guides, which I
Mhm.
also used for Final Fantasy One. I believe you did too at some
I
points.
I did use it just to look up stats on weapons, so that
Right.
when they started giving me weapons with weird names and weird effects, I wasn't just randomly clicking.
I will tell you, I made heavy use of this guide. I was not shy about it. I had this guide with me for basically the entire game and was referencing it frequently. And we will talk about
Okay.
what that was like.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I did finish this game this week.
Okay.
There was a time when I did not think I was going to. I started playing it a little early, so I was playing it for maybe like a week and a half or so, on and
Mhm.
off. And this game is meant to be longer. You know, if you look on the internet, they say the first game was like 15 hours, and this game is like 20 to 25 hours, maybe.
Mhm.
I can't tell you. I'm not sure exactly how long it took me because I wasn't keeping as close track, but it definitely took me way longer than the first game. And there was a point around like the halfway point of it where I was like, oh man, these dungeons are long. I don't
Mhm.
know if I'm going to finish this in time. And I ended up by the end, we can talk about it getting through it faster. But
Okay. Yeah, because
yeah,
with the last Final Fantasy, I played it for about 15 hours and I got about halfway through it. And I do find that when I look up like how long to beat these games, it usually is like double it for me, and that's about right. So I was kind of thinking like, I don't know that I'm gonna do 50 hours to beat this game. Now, I did play this game for I don't know the exact time, but I am positive it was over a day of playtime, and I did not start early. I did it within the week. We delayed one day because of me, so I did it within 8 days. Um,
I mean, I'll admit this as well.
mhm,
I was ready. Like I had played more than enough, but I did
mhm.
finish the game yesterday during our delay period. So you did buy me additional time to actually finish it.
Okay, okay, yeah. I mean, so the thing about this game is that uh I lost significantly more time in this game to being a little bit lost or working my way through figuring out what to do with the new mechanics or bumbling around not really understanding how to get started because there was not the guide that you gave is really good for technical information, but like unless you are reading like instruction by instruction, what it doesn't have is just like a nice little page that says like these are the controls, this is what you click here, and that would have actually been quite helpful for me. And I also lost a lot more time to like dying at the end of dungeons and having to redo the whole thing over again. So because of that, I put in a little over a day, let's say. I looked at these walkthroughs and they're broken down into sections, and to me it looks like maybe I'm only a third of the way through this, but it's hard to be certain. The sections might not be the same length.
What's your yeah, because I that was one thing I looked up actually a different guide because I just wanted to see like how
Hmm.
do they separate it into chapters to get an idea of how far I
Hmm.
am. And I also used a map. There is a map in the game, but I think it's really not very helpful most of the time.
I actually quite like that map. I think it's a lot of fun, in part
Really.
because it is somewhat obscured.
It's
But
so it wouldn't bother me so much if it didn't take like
yes,
5
that's a
seconds
problem.
to move it 1 pixel.
Yes, I would rather that you just couldn't move it. So what's interesting about the map in the game, we should say, is that it's a globe, right? You have this flat two-dimensional land, but when you click the map, you see it like projected across a three-dimensional sphere, so you can't see the whole map at a time. You see like the sphere rotate and where you are in the continents. I thought it was pretty cool. But again, yes, if you want to rotate the globe, it takes so fucking long that I wish they just didn't let you do that. They were just like, you can look at the local map. You can look at like this quarter of the planet you can look at, and that's it. Or whatever.
Yeah, very very annoying. I
Yeah,
I
I just
quickly
never
give
did
up
that,
on it.
yeah.
I
Oh,
used it for positioning sometimes when I was like,
mm,
I know I'm close, like which direction do I need to go? But if it was
okay.
like I'm in this town and I don't remember where that town is I'm supposed to go to, I looked at a bigger map because I was not putting
Okay.
up with that.
Yeah, I mean, I used that map to place myself locally, and then there is an airship that can take you to places. So if I needed to go to a new place and it was a place the airship could take me, I was just like, I'm spending the money to go there by airship first, and then I'm checking the local
Mm,
surroundings, and now I know where I am and how to get
yeah.
here.
Yeah, it wasn't as I didn't need it as much at least in the first half of the game. You can rely on that boat and ship for a few things.
hmm
Anyway, where were we at? Talking about starting
yeah.
the game?
Oh, we were talking about the guides and like what we were using them for and that sort of thing.
Well, let's just okay. So,
hmm
how about we start with as we usually do? I mean, you kind of already did start it, but your experience getting into this game. Maybe you can talk more specifically about what those early hurdles were like, or just your early impressions of what this was.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like I wandered and didn't quite get to the point I really wanted to make, which
That
was
damn
this.
map.
This game has a lot of story to it. And I don't just mean by quantity. I mean like the degree to which it has a story is like 10 times more than any other game we've played, as far as I can tell. Would you agree with that statement?
I think that is true. I mean, certainly in comparison to even Final Fantasy One, probably before this,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy One was the most.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 1 or Maniac Mansion, and those don't
Mm,
really have stories. Not like they do,
yeah.
but like, eh.
I mean, the
Um,
big thing in this RPG is that your characters do have names.
yes,
Even though you can name them, they aren't just blank slates. They are actual characters who have their own like dialogue and stuff.
yeah, and things happen in the game that change like the state of the world, right? Like they change, oh, something happened and now this town is different, or this guy is here and now he's not, or this character is saying this. And that is something that we saw in other RPGs before, but in this game it's like constantly happening. Like there it is like this is a very much so a moving living world in a way that these other games weren't. And so that is why I very specifically wanted to start off saying, I feel like I maybe only got a third of the way through the story because it's hard for me to talk about the story as a whole, not having experienced the whole thing. But what I am very interested in getting into in this episode is like the concept of games as a storytelling medium, because this is the first time that I've really actually seen it, as opposed to like, oh yeah, the story is there's a bad guy. You go beat him. There's time travel, did you know? That's a story.
Yeah, I mean the story of this game when you say it also is pretty
Mhm.
basic. It's a group of
Yes.
rebels fighting against the Empire. Okay.
Yeah. But
But
there are a lot of individual moving parts that happen that like have their own little things going on. Anyway.
yeah. And when you compare it also to the original,
Mhm.
the setup of that was you're the chosen people. Where'd you
Yeah.
come from? I don't know. Why were you chosen? I don't know. You
Yeah.
just
You're the
are. You just
player
got to do it.
character.
You're the
That's
warriors of
why.
light. I don't
You're
know.
right.
Go
Yeah.
like this is immediately you start out and it's like, oh, these are
Mhm.
people. They're actually trying to have a narrative here. Uh, much of it was directly inspired by Star Wars.
Mhm.
It is pretty clearly an empire invading the rebels. There's also I don't know how if you got far enough, I guess potential spoiler warning.
Yeah. I don't want to get too spoiled on it, but I did I did run into a certain Dark Knight character, and one of the characters did make a remark about how they seemed familiar.
Right.
So I have some
Yeah.
ideas about that.
Yeah, let's just say there's that which has a certain will bring to
Mhm.
mind a certain film.
Yeah, might it now?
The empire is building a dreadnought
Right.
that flies and destroys cities, you know.
Oh, you know what? It
Hmm.
would make sense that I'm a third of the way through because I got far enough to destroy the dreadnought, which is what happens at the end of the first Star Wars.
That's true. I guess it does kind of go all the way to Jedi, doesn't it? Sort technically. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. You destroyed the Dreadnought?
I did destroy the Dreadnought. Yes.
Now, ooh,
That is specifically why I wanted extra time, is because I was like, I can tell that this is building to a destroy the Dreadnought climax and then we're going to move on. And I don't want to quit before I've at least finished that climax.
I wish I had. I almost said to you, and maybe you did do this,
Mm,
but I want to know. I hope you did, but maybe you didn't if you just
we'll see.
stopped. But like one of the next places you go after the Dreadnought, you get to find a Chocobo.
So here's the interesting thing about that.
Did you do that earlier?
I did that to get to the Dreadnought because I was I was not sure where exactly it was. I was like, they say north, but it's not in any of the places that are north, so it must be up here, but this seems like a ridiculously long distance and I don't want to scroll the map, and also all the enemies are too hard, so like, do I want to grind forever just to go check and see? So I quickly glanced at a guide, and one of the guides was like, you can just get a chocobo and ride up there, and I was like, oh, interesting. And they told me where it was, and I went there, and I still couldn't find it. And I had to like go. I literally looked up a video of somebody getting it because I was like, I'm right where they say it is, and it's not here. And I had to watch it like 3 times to figure out what happened because the person was like, yeah, you just go here. And I was like, I did that. Anyway, but I did want to see the chocobo. I was not about to miss the chocobo, and I don't think I ever would have found that chocobo.
I think you would have found it if you had gotten there naturally, because when you go from, there's a city up top, and when you travel, then you have to go south. I feel like you kind of just run into the Chocobo by accident if you just go south.
I already had done that city, and you would have to go in a beeline straight south, which like I beat all the guys in that city, and I was all like, south is a vast expanse of dangerous enemies, and north is where I go to heal. So I just pieced out, went back up to heal, and went back to the
you're
story.
a pussy.
Yeah, I mean, I just beat a dungeon. Anyway.
Maybe I got the order wrong. Maybe you do see the Chocobo before the Dreadnought. I thought it was right after. Anyway.
Yeah, you certainly can. Anyway, I did get to
the
ride
whole
on a
map.
Chocobo.
It's theoretically, most of the map is open right from the beginning. It's just that there's really strong monsters there.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of the thing, is that like the direction that Dreadnought in is one of the first directions I tried to go at the very beginning of the game, and was like, not that way. You get killed going that way.
So we're going all over the place right now.
Yeah, we are.
to try to rein it back in, yes, immediately when I started playing this, I thought, wow, there is so much more of a story here. So much more compelling. And I think that's true throughout the game, even though, still, if you're comparing this to modern games, it doesn't really stand up. But compared to the other RPGs we've been playing, I realized, wow, this game, we talked about it so much with Maniac Mansion, how it had cutscenes.
Yeah.
But those cutscenes were a little different in that they literally cut into, not always. Sometimes there were scenes that happened with dialogue that naturally in the story.
Well, Family Guy gags.
Right. They did have Family Guy gags. In this game also has cutscenes, but I feel like just as much, if not more, kind of blew my mind, especially considering this is a year after Final Fantasy, and so it's still pretty early in the RPG genre's life. But there's honest to God, like, characters have dialogue, and then it's not a pre-rendered cutscene. It doesn't like cut away. There's not a transition. Another character will start moving. Other things will happen on screen. A boulder might fall. You might see the Dreadnought fly by or explode or something. Shit happens on the screen as characters are talking, like a scene, like a movie scene. It
felt very modern in a way, or I guess not modern, because nowadays, there are so many more whatever. But like this it was the sort of thing you would expect to see in like a Pokemon game, right? Like character walks up to you and then dialogue begins and you click through it and you talk to them and hey, would you look at that? This sprite moves across and it's like, oh, this is all very familiar the way that this is done and it's familiar in a way that I haven't seen before in any of these games.
Yeah, it almost felt like maybe I would have thought that this was a modern game that someone made in a retro style because like specifically those cutscene elements really did feel very modern to me, like almost out of place with the rest of the game. I was like, that's kind of cool. Those are kind of neat. And again, we're playing with translated dialogue, so
yeah.
I don't know how much of that is that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of the things that really is the advantage to going through these games in order. Something that sometimes I'm like, oh, why do we have to play the early games if you don't know if I'll like them? But like, I would not have taken note of this, right? Like, if you had just thrown me into this game, I would have been like, yeah, I don't know. Characters talk to each other. That's just a thing they do. But here it's like, oh my God, I have not seen this before from the perspective of this podcast. I am now agnostic to games outside this podcast, by the way. I've forgotten about all of them. I'm starting anew. So this is brand new. This is blowing my mind. It's really cool.
Yeah. And for, it's just seeing this series, it feels like, oh, this is getting closer to what Final Fantasy is, or what I think of it as with my limited knowledge of the series. And also, I think the thing that differentiates it from the Dragon Quest series, for instance, most of those games, like your main protagonist never speaks, or at least most of the time, I don't think, and they usually aren't named officially. And it's like it's supposed to be you going on this adventure, versus this is a story that you're experiencing about characters that exist.
Right.
So that was really cool to see. Now, I mean, why don't we get into the combat and the leveling?
Yeah. Well, since we're on cutscenes, the other new mechanic we haven't talked about is how to talk to people. Because this was actually the mechanic I had the most trouble with, because if you just do a brief read through of the guide, they get into the technical nitty gritty on how leveling works because it's complicated and like you might just not level up your character. But there wasn't really a brief overview of this anywhere, and it doesn't work like any interaction system I've ever seen with an NPC before. So when you talk to a character, sometimes they will tell you about something. Perhaps the princess will say, if you want to talk to other secret rebels, the password is Wild Rose. And there'll be a little sound effect, and Wild Rose will be in brackets. And so, you might assume at this point that you now can go up to another character and ask them or say Wild Rose to them. It'll be an option you can click. Or perhaps it's something you, the player, have to remember and you'll be able to input it or something like that. Or perhaps now you just know it, and if you go up to a character, there are characters who wouldn't have responded, but now that you've learned it, they do respond. None of these are how it works. So, when you're talking to the princess and that Wild Rose comes up on screen, you've got a dialog box that says Ask Learn Item. You have to click Learn while the Wild Rose is up there on the screen, and that will put Wild Rose into your Learned Words box. Now you can go up to characters and you can ask them Wild Rose. I did not understand this, so I was just like, okay, she taught me that. And then I would go up to random characters and be like, can I ask you anything? No. Anything to learn? No. It took me, because of the fact that the random encounters make it very difficult to go back and forth, there was a point in the game where I was just locked because I was like, there's a guy. Here's the city overrun by bad guys. Here's the one guy I can talk to. He's clearly a friend. I'm supposed to tell him Wild Rose. I know the password. He won't respond. I can't ask him. I did not understand this. I looked up multiple guides for this, and they all said, yeah, go to the princess and learn Wild Rose. And I was like, I did that. It didn't occur to me that learn was like a capital L learn. I'm
What did you think that
curious.
option was for?
To me, I was just like, yeah, you'll go up to a character and you'll press learn, and maybe there'll be something you can select in the box to learn. Like, it didn't occur to me that it would be in their speech bubble already said to you. This was very confusing to me.
And you're curious how I dealt with it? Is that what you're going to say?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was intuitive for you. Maybe you just read it in a guide. I'm curious what you think of this system because, like I said, I've never seen anything like it before.
So I like this system. It
Mhm.
reminds me of a adventure game. It kind of feels like Phoenix Wright, or like maybe a visual novel of having to like talk to someone, and not necessarily the specific like you have to click learn to get it, but a lot of games like those style of games where it's more about dialogue with people will be, oh, I have to like ask this person a specific question, but I don't know to ask that question yet. I have to find the other person who will tell me the knowledge I need to learn it. So
Yeah.
certainly it would have been more convenient if you didn't, the having to click learn is just it's a middleman that you don't need.
Yeah, because that really is the issue. I would not have had this like I was just trying ask and learn on every character I saw when I first saw them. But if they talked to me a bunch, I was like, okay, they talked to me. Like I was trying to do that to trigger dialogue. Um if they had taken out the learn and just said like, okay, she told you Wild Rose, it's in here now. Then I would not have had this problem.
This did happen to me in the beginning. I did go all the way to Finn, go to the guy in the pub, try to talk to him a bunch of times and went, what the fuck? He's supposed to do something. And then realized, oh, I didn't learn it. I made the same mistake and had to walk all the way back. And I was annoyed. But
I walked back and forth multiple times. I wasted a lot of. I think I was like multiple hours into the game before I figured out how this worked. And this was the thing that made me say I'm gonna go pull up a walkthrough. Like I was just gonna be like, I'll get the basic brief on the mechanics. I'm not gonna look at any walkthroughs. This was the point where I was like, I need a walkthrough. I need somebody. I know what to do. I just can't do it. Please tell me.
Yeah, so even with the walkthrough, I did make the mistake, but I did not walk back and forth multiple times. It was just the one time.
Yeah, because I was like, I'll just talk to the princess again, see if she said, no, she says it. Is there any clues of what, am I going to the wrong place? Anyway.
Yeah. This is why I told you to use the guide.
Well, if I'd had a manual, it probably would have had a page that said, here's how you use ask and learn. But
yeah, it might have.
You know what I should have done? I should have gone and tried to find the Japanese manual and seen if I could get like a AI to translate it or something.
I tried. Oh yeah, I didn't try AI, but I did. That's a good idea. I could just use Google Translate. Maybe. I wonder how helpful that manual is, because sometimes they aren't.
Yeah, maybe it's. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. I'm not going to fault this game for the system being unintuitive because, as far as I know, it explains it perfectly. Even though, let's be real, it probably doesn't.
Yeah, probably does. I mean, it certainly doesn't in game. I mean, I guess it's possible they mistranslated it, but I don't think so. There's no tutorial.
We're still in the era where none of these games explain it in game. That's why you have to read the manual.
Well, yes. If it's in the manual, for sure. But okay, so anyway, it's a little clunky, but I kind of. It did make conversations sometimes feel a little more engaging for me. Now, there were also a lot of times when it's like, oh, I can ask a person about 12 things. And of course, they only actually have something to say about one of them, or sometimes none of them. Or it's like, well, once you are done with the first, hour or two of the game or whatever it is, you never need to say Wild Rose ever again. So why does it stay there the whole time? And make me kind of look at it like it just kind of takes up space and makes it seem like it's more complicated than it really is. So yeah, I agree. It should have just been probably simplified. It either should have been made more complicated and interesting and more puzzle like, or they should have just gotten rid of it and just done a normal talking thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, the idea that you accumulate phrases that you can ask, I did really like that element. That did, I think, help bring me into the story because it's not like, I'm not saying that, oh, I'm going to go up to the princess and press A and see what she tells me. It's like, oh, somebody told me a new phrase. Maybe the princess has something to say about that. And that's also kind of a trigger to like learn new things, right? Where you say, like, as opposed to being all like, well, after you did this, you were supposed to go back to the town and talk to that person. Well, how was I supposed to know that? Do I go back to every town every time I do something and talk to everybody? Well, no, I learned a new word. So if I don't know what to do, I can go to an important person and ask them the word and maybe they'll tell me. I think that's cool. I also liked it was a little, unintuitive to me at first, but it made perfect sense once I did it the first time. The idea that, when somebody teaches you a new word, you can just ask them the word you just learned, and they might teach you a new word.
Yeah.
Like, you can
Yeah.
just keep going sometimes. And I thought that was cool. I thought it felt more like having a real conversation without having the issue of like, oh, I can't hear the first part again. I forgot it.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you find an item in an adventure game like Maniac Mansion, and you're like, oh, now that I found this item, I'm going to go try to use it on everything in the house.
Yeah.
And see if that works.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my takeaway is that I like the idea of this system, but a lot of the things about how it was implemented were very confusing and clunky to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I liked it, but I think once you kind of understand it, it's not really that integral to the game. It just is like, well, you could have just done a normal talking thing. But
Yeah.
but it's like while I was doing it, I was like, oh, that's neat. Like they're trying something. That's cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, I would like a game that, as you said, like gets rid of these when you don't need them anymore, but then has way more of them. Like I did actually think that it helped bring me into the world of the game too. Like I'm not just going to talk to them. I want to, my real person wants to ask wants to ask this character about a specific new thing, and my character in the game is going to go ask them about a specific new thing. I'm not just going to be like, see what they have to say. I did think that helped.
you know what game you're going to love, and we will get to it at some point. On the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, there's a series of Hamtaro games.
I'm going to love these.
In the Hamtaro games, you do learn words from the Hamtaro ham language. So it's like, oh, you learn hamha, and now you can go say ham. Yeah, that's the puzzles in that game.
That's good. Oh, I like
Pretty
that.
good. Pretty good. Now, okay, an hour into this episode, everyone's been watching footage of us probably doing almost nothing but fight.
Right. We haven't talked about that yet.
And we have not talked about the fighting yet.
Well, there's a lot to talk about before we can really start trekking out and playing the game.
I mean, like you'd expect from an RPG, right? Those are the two components of it. There's the story and there's the battles. And included in that is dungeons and stuff and your gear and all that. So the combat in this game, the combat itself, maybe we start there before really getting into the leveling system. Because the actual combat, the turn-based battles you have in the game are, I think from my memory, pretty much the same format and style as the first Final Fantasy. Biggest...
There are... Yeah, I was going to say, there are some pretty significant differences, but basically it is the same.
Like how for the most part, your strategic choices and stuff are the same. It certainly looks like if you see them at a glance, the two battle screens side by side, they kind of look the same.
Yes.
Besides some of the sprites are different. But to me, the most significant difference is that you now have MP for your magic use instead of each spell having like a certain number of slots or whatever. You just have one like you would expect from basically every RPG now. Dragon Quest had this. You just have an MP, and whatever spells you use, they take up a certain amount of that MP, and that's it.
Yes, this is by far the most significant change. The other one is the rank system. You can, instead of ordering your party to see who is
Oh
most
yeah,
likely to be hit, instead you can put people on the front or back rank. As far as I know, there is no order. If you're on the front rank, you are just they can hit you, and if you're on the back rank, then melee enemies cannot hit you, but you cannot melee them back unless you have a bow.
right. And magic can still hit you, but that's it.
Right, magic can still hit you, and you can still hit them with magic. So if you have your, crappy, weak, but powerful mage, you can throw them on the back line and protect them from physical attacks while throwing spells around.
So because this game theoretically you do not have pre-assigned classes. It's not like the first game where you decide this guy's a fighter, this guy's a black belt or whatever.
Yes,
It
this is a huge difference.
theoretically you could just decide I'm going to give this character an axe. Now they're the axe character. Or the same character, you might just say, no, that's my black mage. I'm going to teach them all the black mage spells, and they're just going to do that and get good at it.
If you really wanted to, you could make that decision 20 hours into the game and just change your fighter into a black mage. It would be a pain in the ass. You'd have to grind for hours and hours, but you could do this.
Yeah, or you could. Characters can carry two weapons, although that system apparently is sort of buggy. But you could have them hold an axe and a sword, and now they're actually getting better with both at the same time.
Yeah.
For
My
later on.
understanding is that it was supposed to use both weapons and kind of like split the difference in the damage or something like this, but it doesn't. But it does still give you progress for each weapon.
Okay. Yeah, so this leads me to the question of how did you determine what to make your party and what did you go with?
Yeah, so okay, so there's some things about this system that I think are really cool. I do really like the open-endedness of it, and I um I like the fact that I can just kind of fuck around and do whatever I want. However, I do think that this was perhaps the wrong game to implement it in, and I'll tell you what my strategy was, and you'll maybe see why I think this was the wrong game to implement it in. So, when I started off, I had 3 party members, and I had a vague idea that I was going to get 4th party members, but they wouldn't be permanent, which turns out to
Yes.
be true.
Throughout the game,
Um,
you'll keep getting fourth ones. They'll stay with you for a little while, then they leave.
yes, like these are things that I was like trying not to look ahead, but like if I'm just reading about the mechanics, you can't help but know that something like this is going to happen. Um, so my thought was I want to have like a dedicated black mage, right? And I want to have a dedicated fighter, and I want to have a and I want to then have another character who could flip back and forth between white mage and frontline attacker, and then I can split the white mage duties with the black mage since the fighter won't be as good. So I'm splitting my white mage duties between 2 characters. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I kind of wanted to say no matter what character shows up for the party, I will like I will be able to adapt my party to deal with them, right? Like if I get another mage in the back, then I can just put my 2 guys in the front. If I get another guy in the front, then I can keep my white mage in the front or move him to the back and have him do more white mage stuff. Um, or whatever it is that I need to do.
And
Additionally, I also wanted my party to function without a 4th person because I didn't know how often I would have it or if the
yeah,
game would still be hard. So this
just
is
for
also why I was like I want to kind of have all of the different things covered.
I just want to say for people who don't know, like generally speaking, black mages are like your attack spells, your
Mhm.
damage spells, and white mages are like healing and buffs and stuff like that.
Yes. I do think when I was a significant portion of the way into the game, I do think I probably could have gotten away with 2 frontline fighters and 1 just dedicated mage who does both white and black magic, and it would have been fine.
So what
It
was
might
your
have been better
actual
even.
paint a picture for me? What was your like what did you make each character? Just
Yeah,
to
so Furion the lead character.
Yeah.
This was my like frontline knife user / white mage.
Okay.
Um, so he didn't run shields, but he's still, I made sure to train up his stamina, and I ran, all the like special white mage spells. I made sure to get his spirit up. When you increase your white mage stuff, you have a chance to decrease your attacking strength. So I did understand that he might not be as strong, but I did end up actually just using him to kill things more. Um, I used Maria as my mage in the back. She mostly was casting elemental spells to kill things as a black mage, but she did have white magic as well and used it to a reasonable degree. And then I had Guy as my dedicated sword using fighter. And he just sat there and hit people and equipped all the heavy armor and was always out front. And the great thing about this game is there's no reason that I can't just look at him and be all like, yeah, I can increase his MP once so that he has 10 MP, teach him Cure, and I effectively just have like 10 free shitty potions I can use in any given dungeon if I'm in a pinch.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was great. I loved that. Life as
Totally.
well, I did that too. I think I put Cure, Life, and Teleport on all of my characters. Even some of the new ones.
I went pretty similar to you, and some of this was based on the recommendations in this guide, which because the way the characters start out with certain stats, they are sort of predisposed to being certain classes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Maria has very high intelligence, so makes more sense to make your black mage, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, I made her my black mage. Pretty much was always doing elemental stuff like you. If she also had cure and life, just because everybody should have that.
Yeah.
I think
Esuna and Basana, just because I want as many ways to get rid of fucking status as possible.
Yeah. Furion, I kind of did the same thing as you, although I had him as a sword user. But he was swording and also doing cure and like some white mage stuff. And then Guy was also just my tank with an axe. I had him with an axe, and later on, I was using a spear or a lance or something.
Yeah, they start you off with an axe on Guy and a sword on Furion. And when I was looking through all the weapons, I was like, oh, swords give a big magic penalty, so I should probably change him to, like, I don't know, a staff or a knife at some point. And so at some point I did that. And Guy, I was like, yeah, it feels like swords are generally the better just generic weapon, so I'm just going to switch him to a sword early.
Right, so here's the thing about this that I don't know if we've really spelled out for anyone who hasn't played this, which is probably many people.
Yeah.
Most people probably, even if maybe they've played a version like one of the remakes, but most people probably have not played in America the original second game. And I don't know how different they are. But and certainly in later games, I at least hope they spell these things out more for you as you're playing, because I would have had no concept of them.
Yes, yeah, 100%. The like guide on how leveling works is like fairly necessary to not just be like, what? My characters just suck. They never get better.
Yeah, because even like certain armors, like you don't really want your mage to wear any armor until you find very specific ones that are good for them, because it will just make their spell casting worse. And there's not really nothing tells you that.
No.
You just kind of got to learn that. Now, there's a certain point where I think didn't engage with the actual mechanics of this system as much as probably the game wants me to, or the guide wanted me to, that I was reading. Because I did kind of find that, I shouldn't. Oh yeah, like the guy who's doing the white magic, I should be worried about him having a shield or heavy armor or whatever. And I kind of ended up just treating him as basically just the sword guy. I gave him shields, I gave him armor. He also had some white magic that he would use from time to time. But I kind of didn't really have him even as he was like he really minored in white mage. Like he took a couple classes in white mage, but he was pretty much just a sword guy for most of the time. And then I used him more for if somebody died to use life or cure, or blink, which is the protection spell. I did that a lot.
Yeah, I did a lot of that as well.
or as soon as you said to cure poison or whatever. But one of the things I found about the game is that because the more you do something, the better the characters get at it. To a certain extent, there's exceptions here and there, but to a certain extent, I found I could brute force my way through some areas just by being like, oh, I guess, like, for instance, this thing is weak to ice, but you know what I really leveled up already is fire. So like sometimes I just use fire and I don't really fucking think about it because it works because I didn't use my blizzard spell as much. Or, this guy, like, maybe this sword's not the best sword and he should be doing something else, but he sure did use that sword a fucking lot and now he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So why am I going to break it?
Yeah, this is one of the things that is also a little bit odd compared to the first one, is that, like, if you've had your guy using a sword the whole time, and then you pick up a really cool spear and you give him the spear, he's gonna suck with it because he has 0 levels in spear. Right.
Yeah.
So like you're just stuck on sword now unless you train something else up. So there were times where I was like, maybe I'll have him train, when I'm just like grinding out more gold or whatever, and I'm not too worried about dying. Maybe I'll take off the shield and I'll just grind out another random weapon in the offhand, just in case I find something like that.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Or I was gonna say the main thing is that it is how many times you use it, so you are often incentivized to do things like, oh well, I'm gonna go, have my fighters beat up all these enemies, and my mages are just going to cast worthless spells so that they've cast them more, right? Like I want to be casting Esuna on nobody for no good reason, because or silence on nobody for no good reason, because if I run into a powerful mage, I'm going to have to cast a powerful silence, and that's not a thing I ever would have done had I not known to engage with this system. Also, another thing is that in order to gain, this was less of a problem with HP and stamina. I found that you get hurt. But with MP specifically, the way that you increase your pool is not by using NP. It's at the end of a battle, you have a chance to increase it if you've used a certain percentage of your MP that battle. So if you're sitting there like, I want to be out here for a long time, so let's just use a little bit of MP every battle, you might get to an area and all of a sudden find that I don't have enough MP to deal with this area because I just never leveled up my MP because I was too conservative. So like it was also a thing where like I would just go to like low level, like later on I was like, I think I fucked up, and I went to low level areas and would try to like extend the battle long enough to blow through all my MP just to get a couple of level ups real fast.
It is odd that way. And same thing with like, I had to do so, a few battles. It's like, well, put Maria up front because I just want her to take hits because otherwise her health is never going to get bigger until later you'll see more enemies who cast magic at you. But then when they did start to cast magic, she had no HP and she would die in one hit. So I was like, I need to actually let her take some hits.
I actually generally found it was kind of okay because I would get to those big enemies and they wouldn't one-shot her. They'd do like 80% of her health and then they'd die, and then she'd be safe again because the other enemies weren't hitting her, and then she'd rank up her HP. Yeah, and it kind of worked out.
Yeah, but, a lot. Sometimes that will happen. Definitely. One of the things that's weird about this game that maybe is true about the first game too, is that it seems that how difficult you find any given dungeon or encounter will vary wildly, because I believe there's just a random system where it's like, I might run into one of this enemy, or I might run into 5 of them.
Yeah.
There was one like sort of boss or mini boss that I think it was a chimera or something like that in one area.
I ran into those once, yeah.
And when I fought it the first time,
I got fucked.
There were like 5 or 6 of them.
Oh my God.
And they fucked me up. And I came back and did it again. Only one. And it was easy. And I was like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, for there to be that much variance in what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I definitely feel that. How, so in the last Final Fantasy, you were doing a lot of running that I wasn't, right? Now, in this game, I found two things. One, it's much harder to run from a fight, I think. I think the chances are way lower. I could be wrong. I did not look this up. It just seemed like it. And B, you're very much incentivized not to do that. It's much better to just, like, attack all in with your fighters and cast a shitty spell with your mage and try to clear it, because then you'll probably clear it in 2 turns anyway. And if everybody tried to run, you might not all run in 2 turns. But this way, not only do you get out of here, you also get to stat up.
Right. Well, so here's the interesting thing about this.
Hmm.
You'll recall with Final Fantasy 1, I did complain a lot about so many random battles, and I was running away from them and all this stuff. First of all, I don't remember how it's determined in the first game or if we knew that. But I do know that in Final Fantasy 2, whether or not you are able to flee successfully from a fight depends on that character's agility level.
Okay.
And I don't remember how you level up agility or how that's determined.
As I recall, agility is leveled up by, like, having enemies attack at you. It's, like, somehow attached to evasion, which is somehow different. But, like, those things raise naturally when you get attacked at.
Right. So, it's possible. It's not based on, for instance, what I would think would be what I would assume probably would be like, oh, depending on how strong the monster is. But no, there's sometimes when you're fighting, when I'm over leveled and I'm back in the starting area with like a few goblins and I can't run away because it has nothing to do with how good they are at fighting me.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the goblins are running away from me while I'm failing to run away. And I'm like, what the hell's happening here?
Yeah.
This isn't right. But I don't know if there's a way to like game it to make running away easier. I don't know if there really is.
I think there probably is, in that I was mostly attacking with my fighters on the front lines because running away hadn't been working, and trying to run with my mage in the back because attacking could potentially lower my mage stats, so I just didn't want to click it. And so maybe my mage just never gained agility because she wasn't in the front getting hit, and maybe if I'd been running with my attackers more in the later game. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I did run away a lot less in this game. In fact, it wasn't really until like towards the very end when I was like, fuck this, the end is in sight. Like, just let me, I don't need to do this shit anymore. Let's get through this. And of course, sometimes it's very hard to run away. Sometimes it's impossible, I think. So for the most part in this game, I did engage with almost every encounter I ran into, which there are many, many encounters. The encounter rate is quite high. What I found was, for me, the biggest relief of this game, or I think conversely, the thing that made it the most annoying for me from the first game was the magic system. In the first game, I never felt safe using magic. I always felt like I have to conserve it for the final boss of this dungeon. I try as much as I can not to use it. My mage is doing shitty attacks or it's doing nothing. And I feel like I'm not engaging with the systems because I have to play in this boring, shitty way. And with the normal MP system in this game, I felt much more like I was able to use that MP. And yeah, there still came a point, especially in the early dungeons, because you're not leveled up yet, where it was like, okay, MP's getting low. Now I got to ease off a little bit, maybe. But as you said, you have things to help you, like, well, Guy can just cure because I don't give a shit about him using MP in fights. So you have much more of a buffer. And I think that really helped me enjoy these battles more, because I felt like I was actually able to play them. I was like, oh, let me use my fire spell. Let me use my blizzard or whatever it is. Oh, it's leveling up. Oh, cool. Oh, this guy's weak to that. Oh, okay. Whereas before I just felt like I had to just attack or run, or I was going to be screwed for the end of the dungeon. So
yeah, there were still times that happened. I got fucked over in a dungeon by being ridiculously stupid. You will see it. It's like the dumbest thing that I did, and it made me miserable because it was all my fault.
Is that? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Okay, so I'd been in the dungeon for like over an hour. You can't save in a dungeon. And I'd gotten a whole bunch of shit, a whole bunch of good loot, but I hadn't quite finished it. But I was getting ready to leave, and I was like, you know, I want to like level up my like cure. I kind of want to do it against a hard enemy because I think that might give more points, although that's wrong. I'll step back into the dungeon for one fight and use cure just to like use my MP and try to get a bump and try to level up the spell. So I go back in for one fight, immediately click the cure, and I'm like, oh, actually my character's healths were pretty good. I could have just said fuck it. It would have been fine. But the enemy in front of me could only be hurt by magic, right? It was one of these turtles. None of my characters that weren't magic could hit it. And I was like, well, my black mage will still just hit it with a blizzard. Well, it took 2 blizzards to kill it, and she only had enough MP for 1 blizzard. So I used the 1 blizzard and then just sat there clicking over and over again, hoping for crits until my entire party died and I lost over an hour's worth of progress, and there was no need for it. I was ready to just leave the dungeon. I didn't have to do it. I was so upset. That dungeon in particular, when I went back to, I was like, okay, I really can't use my MP willy-nilly. I could just die if I can't cast Blizzard here.
Yeah, that sounds
But-
really rough.
It was not pleasant.
I mean, I had a couple moments, not quite like that, but those moments will still happen.
I mean, I definitely throughout this game lost like at least 5 or 6 hours of progress too. I died.
Now, I do think, and maybe I'm not remembering the first game as well, but I did feel it was friendlier in this regard too, because you get a spell called Teleport fairly early on, which
Yes.
warps you out of a dungeon, which I guess you must have had in the first game, right? Or did you not have that?
You do, but I had just gotten it for like the first time by the time I stopped playing. In this game, you
Okay.
can get it quite early. In this game, it's pretty cheap. It's in an early town, and I think you just kind of get one from somewhere. Maybe an ogre
Yeah.
dropped it.
Well,
I don't know,
you,
but you just kind of get one from somewhere even before you can afford it.
You also, your first fourth party member knows a ton of spells.
Yes, that's
So
true.
he might have it. I found it. Whereas in the first game, I did not, and I still don't really like the idea of having to leave a dungeon halfway through and come back.
Mhm.
But I did that more in this game, and I didn't feel as grumpy about it because the teleport spell is there. And another nice thing, you can save on the world map anywhere.
Yes,
Anywhere
I did
on the
love
world
that.
map.
That
The
was a
first
game
game-
changer.
Yeah, you needed a house. You had to buy a very expensive item
Yeah.
to do that. So, I mean, huge upgrade in respecting your time in this game, in my opinion. I was very happy with that. Now, let me tell you the real fucking game changer.
Mhm.
I don't remember exactly when you get this. It's certainly past the point you're at. Maybe it's like 2/3 of the way through the game, something like that. Maybe a little over halfway. I don't know. I think you're, by the way, like roughly halfway through the game, if not
Okay.
a little more.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell because, like I said, I was like, these headers make
Yeah.
it seem like I'm a third of the way through. But when I just grab the scroll bar and drag, it looks like maybe I'm more than a third. I didn't
It
want to
depends
read.
also on like some of the later dungeons I went through a lot quicker because I was just like, I don't need that treasure. Fuck off.
Mm,
Anyway,
couldn't
so that's
be me.
another. I was using maps and shit. No shame at all.
No,
There-
I was not using maps. No
Yeah,
way.
nope. Not. I don't fucking care. And I mean, maybe in the first few I was kind of exploring or whatever, but at a certain point, I'm like, oh, there's a potion in that's guarded by like a fucking boss level monster. Yeah, I'm not gonna go in there. Or how about we didn't talk about this yet? The concept of trap rooms.
Mhm.
There are many doors in dungeons that lead to an empty room that just have extremely high encounter rates with extremely difficult enemies. And it's literally
I
just a
checked all of
trap.
them.
Yeah. And this may, I don't know, we'll see. This may impact your enjoyment of the game versus mine. Because I was like, Nah, I
Mm,
felt no shame, didn't care. I looked at the maps of every dungeon. I looked and saw that's not a door to go in. I'm not fucking going in it. I'm not
mm.
wasting my time on that. I am not. I have better fucking things to do. It's already going to take me a couple dozen hours to play this game. Fuck you, game. I don't respect you. Because that's not a fun
Mhm,
mechanic. That's not a, there's nothing, oh, it's challenging and interesting. No, it's just go out of your way, spend an
mhm.
hour to get to the other side of this floor to see a door that leads you to nothing that might just kill you. That's just a
Yeah.
fuck you from the game.
Yeah, I mean, it is really just an issue with the high encounter rates, and the fact that you can't save in a dungeon. I really do think that it would not change the game too much if you could
Oh,
save in a dungeon. I don't
yes,
think that would change anything.
please.
Um, like, but yes, like outside of those things, like I do find exploring the dungeons fun and being like, "Ooh, I want to look over there. What's in there? Ooh, that one's empty. What's over here?" I do think that that's fun. It just is annoying when you're saying like, "Is that do I think that way's a dead end or do I think that goes somewhere?" Well, if I move 3 steps over and scroll the screen, yep, it's a dead end, and then I move 3 steps back and actually that was 2 encounters, so it took me over a minute to check. There's only
Yeah,
a couple pixels.
yes,
It's line of sight, and it's just like it the we I said it before, but what this game needs is repels, right? With this that
100%.
is like it would be if you could just buy an item that was like, if the encounter you're about to fight is too shitty, right? They just won't show up. Only the like strong shit will show up if you're using this item, right? So you can just walk around and figure out where you're going.
Yes, please, please. Because yeah, I mean, like the first game, I mean, every step I take in a dungeon,
Hmm.
I am being so careful. Measure what is the absolute shortest distance
Hmm.
I need to get to that staircase, because it's the difference between maybe taking 10 seconds or 4 minutes. And
Yeah,
like that adds up. That
yeah,
adds up.
yeah. Well, because I was gonna say earlier, you said this game respects your time a lot more with the saving and all that, and that's sort of true. But, I gotta say there is this world map is much more expansive. It is much harder to get out of these encounters. I kind of felt like grinding in this game the way that you felt about grinding in the first one. I mean, the mechanics of the game itself, like, while I do like the idea that I can train my characters to be good at something and that I can change their class and that I have this total free form ability to do things. Um, you know, I do now have to do all this stuff. Like it's like, oh, okay, later on I get this good spell. Yeah, but it's level 1. So you're going to have to run in circles and use it against shitty enemies until it's a higher level, and that's going to be like it's like 25 battles or something to get it to level 2, maybe
Yeah,
more.
and what I found was by late game, I just basically was always using the same like 5 spells that I used
Yeah,
because I
cuz
was
you had
like,
been
I'm not
using them.
right. I like,
Yeah.
oh, like the guide was like, this new spell called Flare is really good, and I'm like, I'll never know.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do that shit.
Yeah, I mean that is the one downside of this is that like I do think that stuff that you get like abilities probably shouldn't necessarily work on this system, right? Like what level of spell that I'm casting should probably be based more like I like the idea that you level up your stats by doing things, but like if I pick up a really cool spear, I should just be able to throw that on my strong guy. I should not have to be like, well, he never used a spear before. So now I just have to like I either can't use it or I have to spend 5 hours hitting shitty things with a spear until I can use it. Like that's too realistic. It's not actually good.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. It just
Mhm.
needed to be there needs to be some way to streamline it or speed it up at a
Yeah.
certain point.
Yeah, or like I don't maybe you could buy it, right? Like you could go to a
Mhm.
guy,
Yes.
be like, "Yeah, I would like to upgrade my spell for 1 billion gil." Right?
Yes,
Like I
for
don't
sure.
I it would have been better if I were using it the whole time, but I wasn't. So I'll just spend a shitload of gil. Or like, here's the weapons trainer. I've been using the wrong
Yes.
weapon all game, right? So, give me, tens of thousands of gil go grind for an hour and give me all the money that you got, and that's better than it would have been.
It also makes it harder, I think, to sort of get a sense of where you're at with your party and their abilities. Like in a normal RPG, I might go, okay, I'm about to go into this dungeon with this boss, and I might, if maybe I'm struggling or maybe I'm just curious, I might go online and see what level do they recommend I be at. And they might see like, oh, your party should be like around level 20. And I'll be like, oh, mine's like 18. Maybe I'll just do a little grinding before I get there. But in this game, it's like, I never really have any concept. You can't like look at your characters and it doesn't go, they have shield level 7. It's just like, it just like says, yeah, shield leveled up, and you have to just kind of remember that. I never really understood like how good is this character at a sword. I guess pretty good. He just keeps using it.
I mean, I do love that like extreme variability, and like I like that you can't just go up and be like outfit this guy like this with this or whatever, like the idea that you should be actively engaging with it, but the game itself gives you very little to no way to do that. Like that was something that I was more piecing together by saying like, well, I'm just looking up the stats of these bits of equipment, and and then looking at my character stats, and then going back and rereading how like what triggers a level up, and using that to sort of figure out where I want to be. I liked that, but it's the sort of thing that really needs to be more or less obscure in the game, right? Like a modern version of this where I can look at all of these things and it'll pop up and say like, like, oh, here's your number. Oh, but if you like hover over it, here's a new menu that has all of the underlying things so you understand what's happening, and it's explained out, I think would be a lot better.
Which presumably the remakes do some of that, I hope.
I would hope so, yeah.
I would imagine that they do. Yeah, it is a very obscure system, and there's a point where for me my brain just goes, this is just tedious now, and so instead of engaging with your cool system you designed, I'm just gonna go sword, axe, spells, blah 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 until I get my way through it. And now I'm not enjoying it because it's like it was just too annoying to me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. The other problem that I have, that I kind of alluded to at the beginning, but then never got to with this particular system, is that this is, because of the way this works, this really does, it pays off long-term planning, right? So if you at the beginning of the game kind of sit down and say, I think I want this character to turn out like this and this character to turn out like this, then you have so much freedom to shape what you're doing. And that's really, really cool. The problem is you have a fourth character that's constantly swapping in, and they're all different, and you don't know when they're going to show up, and you don't know what they're going to be good at. And that makes it very difficult to do long-term planning, right? Like if this was a was the old Final Fantasy, I would just say like, yeah, I'll have a fighter, I'll have either a white or black mage, and I'll have a red mage who's kind of good at magic and kind of good at fighting, right? And that way, if I get a fighter, my red mage moves to the back and supports my mage, and if I get a mage, then my red mage moves to the front and supports my fighter, and that is what I tried to do here, but like it's a lot harder to do because you have to be so like meticulous about doing things, and if you're like, oh well, now that I have the character, I know what I should have been doing and I didn't do it right, you have to like go back in and kind of fix it by grinding some more. And this system would have been better with a consistent, unchanging party. The idea of changing out your party members would have been better with just static classes, and the guide can say like, here's a good party for beginners, but you don't have to.
Yeah, because
That's
sometimes
my personal opinion. Yeah.
You'll get that fourth party member, and at least I'm looking at the guide, and it's like, he comes with some weapons, and they're like, yeah, those weapons aren't good. He should be using these weapons. I'm like, huh? Or another fun thing, characters also have dominant hands.
Yes, I did see that.
And so there was one fourth party member I got later on, and they were like, oh, this weapon is good for them. By the way, make sure it's in their left hand. Like,
I
how the fuck would I know that?
What's funny is I actually did notice that on my own. I was like constantly flipping into like the stats and the equip thing, and it says like left-handed
Oh,
on the equip
yes.
screen,
It
and I was
does
like,
show
oh
you that
shit,
there.
fuck yeah, I
Well,
did notice that.
does
But
it say left-handed?
it says left-handed.
Oh, I did not. I only noticed because you'll see the
I
like
I
their attack
understand.
will change.
If you go into the like equip screen, on the screen where you equip items, it says. But I
Yeah.
get it because on those stats and equip screens, there is like 5 times more information than you need, or 5 times more information than you can use, but like 10 times less than you need. It's mostly worthless. So it's very easy to just glaze your eyes over it. And up until this point, every character's been right-handed. So like maybe you noticed that and then forgot it was there. I get it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's also quite annoying that in the original version of the game, when a character leaves your party, which you don't know when that's going to happen,
hmm
they take all their stuff with them. So if you gave them some good item to carry, it's gone forever.
Yeah. Yeah, the first party member I just robbed of everything immediately and said, "Fuck you, I don't need you." The second party member I lost unexpectedly and lost all the gear, but there was nothing particularly great on him. And then the third party member, I was like, I'm having trouble. I need to outfit you with really good stuff, including this like legendary weapon. I'm just gonna quickly check a guide to get a sense of like what can I absolutely not allow to happen before I unequip him. That's
Yeah.
all I need to know. I don't want to know what happens. I just need to know what I can do and what I can't do. Because I don't want to lose this legendary stuff.
Eventually, it kind of evened out for me because it's at least the
Mm,
later characters didn't really overlap with what my other characters were using. So
yeah.
I didn't care as much. And also, like, at that point, pretty much every dungeon you get to, you're going to find a new, better weapon. So it was kind of
Yeah.
like, I know I'll get something, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the left-handed lady, they give her to you, and she's got skills in bows, daggers, and swords. And I was just like, I already have a dagger user. I already have a sword user. I think bows suck. Uh, I'm gonna give you a spear because I just got this cool trident. So you get to be a spear
Yeah.
user now, even though I have to level you up multiple levels to be as proficient as you would have been with something else.
Yeah, I ended up mostly just using the fourth member as they just were another fighter. Like, I didn't really pay
Yeah.
attention to whatever they were doing.
Yeah,
Or for cures.
yeah, that is basically what I was doing too. I was like, oh, let's see if maybe they're outfitted to do something different, but for the most part I was like, it's just another fighter, I guess.
Okay, now about 25 minutes ago, I started to mention something and got sidetracked by many other things.
There's a lot to this game.
But what I was going to say was there's a game changer,
Oh, yes, you did say that.
maybe around 2/3 of the way through the game. You get access to a spell called, God, I don't even remember. It's like Osme or Osmos. I don't know because they're abbreviated
Mm,
sometimes. It's like OSME or
mm.
OSMSE. I
I
don't
think
remember
I
what the
saw
name of
that
it
in
is.
the list of spells. I never got it.
OSMSE. I guess it's like osmos, like
hmm
osmosis. I'm not sure.
Sounds like it.
This spell, you can teach it to your black mage. I guess you could teach it to your white mage too. They have like a different spell that also is more annoying, but kind of works in a similar way. Anyway, when they use it on an enemy, they steal that enemy's MP and
Mm,
refill their MP. And the more you use it, the better it gets, the more MP you get back. And once I unlocked this, it was like the lights from heaven shone upon me because now I don't have to worry about anything with this spell. As long as I always remember to use that in a battle early enough to never run out of MP, I basically at that point had unlimited
mm,
cures, unlimited life spells, unlimited MP.
yeah.
And that was when I was like, I'm having a good time now, baby. That
Yeah.
was when I was really enjoying it.
I can imagine because I was hitting the point in this game where, earlier on I was like, I have 5,000 gil. Well, that's going to 2 ethers. That's all I can afford. And I was hitting the point now where I was like, I regularly have 30,000 with nothing to spend it on, which means that I can just buy ethers, spam magic attacks willy-nilly and use the ether to restore my MP. And it felt very freeing to do that. So I can imagine not having to clog up your inventory with that. And
Yeah, I
having
never
like
even
the
bought ethers. I just
uh,
stopped using magic.
after the turtle incident, I started shoving an ether onto all of my mages just in case I fucked up like that again. I would have an out in battle.
That's another thing also that's nice about this game compared to the first one. You don't have to pay to revive dead characters if you go to a town.
Yes.
And you get a life spell, which I feel like if you had that in the first game, it
Mhm.
was much later.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but
Yeah, it is much later. It's quite early you get a life spell. And like I said, you can put it on every character. Even if you never level up their MP, that's 5 revives you get off of them for free. As long as you do it in between battles, because they won't succeed an attempt in the
now
middle.
the worst experience I had, or the most screwed I thought I was the very end of this game. So the way this game ends, not really a spoiler, but there's a one dungeon that's very long and difficult, and then it immediately puts you in another dungeon that's long and difficult, and you don't get, if you can leave, but then you have to do the first dungeon again still. They're right in a row. And at this, right when I entered this final dungeon, after I had just done the appetizer dungeon, multiple of my characters had developed amnesia, which means they can't use spells. And this should be fine because you do have either Asuna or Basuna. One of them will cure amnesia. I had basically never had this spell happen to me. I think it's very rare in the game until very late. But I realized that my fighter / white mage kind of had this, the guy who I rely on most of his spells. And for particularly for, I used him for life a lot, and like protection spells. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to leave the dungeon, get all the way through, or try to, because I didn't teach the other character the spell that I needed. I didn't have another way to cure it. I only had, my black mage still had her spells, but I never taught her the spell to cure amnesia. So I was stuck. Then I realized, oh, I'm actually really stuck because I also only taught the one guy teleport. No, that's not true. That's not true. I did teach my guy teleport, but both of them had amnesia. My black mage didn't know it. So I, at that point, had to just decide, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. And I brute forced my way through the entire final dungeon, including the last boss, with only my black mage casting spells and everyone else just hitting him. And it worked out.
I'm happy for you. Yeah, I mean, I will say I immediately shoved Esuna and Basuna on both of my mages. I could see, though, not having leveled it up enough. I considered putting it on my non-mages, but I was like, yeah, that's not.
It's crazy because when you first get Esuna, you need to level it up to even be able to cure poison, which is like the most common thing.
It is annoying. I mean, the thing is, though, I read Esuna and I was like, oh, this cures stone. And I had a flashback to the original Final Fantasy where the literal first turn of the game was my white mage got turned to stone by an unlucky roll. And I was like, I'm fucked, and lost immediately because there was nothing. I was like, I could unturn him to stone if he was not stone. And I just like died, couldn't do anything about it. So I saw that Esuna at high levels could cure stone, and I was just like, yep, shove it on everyone.
Yeah, and that is, I think this game commits a sin that I've heard you kind of talk about with other games, where it does not prepare you for certain things well. Like that is one prime example where I was able to play basically the whole game just ignoring those things and did just fine until it was too late. And I would have had to either grind a bunch or just leave or just pray or go buy a bunch of items that I didn't think about buying because I had never run into that before. And that is, to me, unacceptable. Like, you gotta tell me about that.
I would definitely agree with that. It's interesting. It feels like we engaged with this in different ways. It feels like you were following walkthroughs pretty closely, whereas I never looked at walkthroughs, but I was constantly referencing Like, I had the sheets open for, like, these are all of the statuses, these are all of the spells, these are all of the armors, these are all of the weapons, these are all of the items, and I never, like, I tried to never read recommendations, but, like, every time something would come up on screen, I would, like, click over and be like, "Okay, what's that do? What's the numbers on this thing so I understand what I'm looking at? What the
Yeah.
fuck is it?" I
What's
actually
bugged so it doesn't work at all?
Right, yeah, I did read to see if it was bugged so it didn't work, but I didn't, like, see if they thought it was good or whatever, now that being said, yeah, I mean, like, I still don't quite remember which status is Esuna and which status is Basuna do. I had to check that, like, every
I never
fucking
used
time.
I never used Basuna. I don't know what it
Mm.
does.
It gets rid of, sleep and venom, and I think it gets rid of everything that is,
Confused? I'm looking at it now.
yeah, like
Venom,
everything that would go away at the end of battle,
right. That's why I
and
was like,
Essen has
eh.
everything that doesn't go away at
I,
the
I
end of
just I
battle.
just ended the battle and was like, it got better.
Mhm.
That's why so I never used it. But yeah, it is weird how it's possible to not engage with some of these things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
definitely
not great.
I use the guide very much for like where do I go, and also and just for so many of these moments of just being like, is this the thing I need? Should I do this? Is this thing good, or is it going to be 45 minutes of bullshit? Great,
Mhm.
I won't do it then.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as I recall in the first Final Fantasy, I did complain about some of the bosses kind of, like, being too easy where, against regular enemies, I just kind of wail on them. But then I'd go into the boss and I'd be like, time to execute my strategy. And they'd be dead before I even finished setting up because I should have just been wailing on them. And I was like, I want the Final Fantasy with a billion turns. And I felt like it was kind of similar in this game, where for most fights, the regular fights were a little more interesting because I got to make more free use of my magic. I didn't, that opened up the door to a lot more strategies. But when I fought like hard enemies, it was still often just like, yeah, this enemy's hard because I have to check to see what can hurt it because only certain things can hurt it. Or it's hard because it one shots all your characters, but if it doesn't do that, you beat it. Um, there's a fucking
Yeah,
there's a fucking hill giant that just grabs you out of a random chest that just absolutely it crit the first two
yeah.
hits and just one shot every single one of my characters from full like 500 health. Boom, 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 one after another. And I was trying to figure out how to even damage it. Um and then I went back and I beat it and it wasn't too bad because I knew what hurt it and I knew how to deal with it. And then when I looked up the item that was in the chest, like, I saw in there that it said, like, "Oh, this one's guarded by a hill giant, which is really hard, and you can get more later, so just don't get it." And I was like, "Well, I did it. It's
Yes. Or
it's
or a
mine."
lot of times I would go to a town and be like, "Oh, which weapons should I buy?" And the guide would say, "You'll just get one for free in the next dungeon." So I was like, "Okay,
Mm,
cool. I won't buy it then." Just little things just making my life a little easier, you know?
mhm.
House rules, you might call them.
I
I
did
mean, we
like
also
that
did
hill giant fight, though.
yeah, and then later you run into those hill giants like everywhere. There's like dungeons where they
Yeah.
just pop up.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Because like, if I were, if my stats were twice as high, I probably wouldn't have even had that problem the first time, especially since, like, I've seen it before now.
There's also, I mean, there's so many weird little things. Like like what I used to beat the final boss was the blood sword, which the only because the guide helped me understand what this thing is, which it just like severely lowers a boss's defense or an enemy's
Mm.
defense. And it's like
Mhm.
not actually that good in normal fights, but for some bosses, if you just use the blood sword, it will make it much easier to cut through their defense and do more damage to them quickly. And if I
Yeah.
didn't have that, I would have been just screwed. I wouldn't have known what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I did have that ancient sword for the hill giant,
That
which
was
it's
similar. Yeah.
yeah, I was looking at that, and I think they had recommendations about it, but I think I also just looked at the stats and I was like, that drop in accuracy is not worth the increase in power for regular fights. But like, I see it's applying a curse status, so like, yeah, when I came back to the hill giant, I was like, none of my fighters can attack it. Fuck it, equip this guy with the curse in there. That worked. Um,
Yeah. We didn't talk about how at the inns how much an inn costs is not like by town like most RPGs. It's based on how much you need to restore, and it's actually cheaper if you heal your party up as much as possible with spells. It's less expensive, even though you're using more MP, and then the inn will restore your MP, which is
Oh yeah,
an
I
interesting
did
quirk.
see that. It was like, yeah, there's a conversion. MP is like harder to restore than health, but you get so much health back off of cure that you should just do that. Which is fine. I do like this way better. I don't like I always felt like being ripped off if it was like, man, if I was just willing to spend another 2 hours to run all the way back across the world and then come over here, I would not spend as much. I feel like, it's like, okay, I get it. I'm paying a convenience tax, but like I do like that, like, it's just more expensive if you're higher level because you can afford it, whatever. I guess
Yeah.
that's also ripping you off.
Yeah.
You got the
It kind
money,
of
you
makes
got to
sense.
pay.
I mean, it makes more sense than like this inn in this part of the country costs more because you got here later. It's like, what?
Mhm.
Like, what is that? Is there like an order where all people in this world start in my town and then get to
Yeah.
yours? Makes
I mean,
no sense.
they could just all also make the inns affordable. I don't think it would change the game that much if you didn't have to pay much for inns,
I mean,
especially
look,
later on. You
this
still
is
don't.
this is one of those games where in the beginning I'm struggling for money and by the end I'm drowning in
Yeah.
money. um, let's see. We got to talk about the Chocobo. I've actually two
Yes.
things in this game that are, as far as I know, the only two things that are like, oh, you're going to see these in other Final Fantasy games specifically, which are the Chocobo and the character of Cid, CID, who
Yes.
flies the airship.
I have heard of Sid.
Yeah, that's I assume it's just like it's a
I
different
think
Cid every game, right?
Yeah, I think I was told that in every game Sid is associated with the airship, but he might not be actual. Like, there's very few of the games he's actually in. It's like that's Sid's airship, but I
Hmm.
might be mistaken about that.
I mostly know it from GameFAQs usernames. Why I know that name. But you do get to ride on a chocobo in this game.
Yeah, I did love that chocobo. Once I got there, I was very upset with the game being like I never would have found this on my own. The fact that I had to look it up to get the chocobo. I want a chocobo in my Final Fantasy game, and it makes me sad that I would not have gotten it had I not been looking at a guide.
It's also not exactly intuitive how to once you go to this little meadow in the
Oh yeah,
forest, and then it pops up and you have to press A to quote unquote catch it right when it appears because it's fast. And
hmm
then it'll say, you caught a chocobo, but then it's still there.
yeah,
And you just
yeah,
have to leave and then it will be on the map, but it doesn't tell you that.
yeah. I struggled with that for a while. I was like, how the fuck do I get it?
Once again, I read the guide, told me what to do. No
Yeah,
problems.
fortunately, the way out of that is that
You
you leave
leave.
the forest frustrated, and you're like, oh, there he is.
And
Okay, cool.
it is a little, I love, so when you ride the chocobo, he's fast and he avoids all enemy encounters, which is great.
Yeah,
But it is like, it's really only useful in like maybe two parts of the game because you can only get it in one specific
yeah,
area.
yeah. If you go to this spot, then you can traverse the whole map without fighting enemies.
Yeah.
Okay, but you got to go to this spot.
It does, however, come with maybe the one of the, I think, I would argue probably the most iconic song from Final Fantasy. When you
Hmm.
ride the chocobo, which is the da 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 da. Did you know that
I
song?
I did know that song, but I don't know if is it the most iconic. Yeah, maybe it is.
It is
It
to me
doesn't.
because I know it,
Yeah.
and I never played them, so it must be right. Other
Yeah, I
than
don't
da
know.
da 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 da,
Right.
that
I
would be the
mean,
only other
yeah, if that
competition.
yeah, I mean that does have a whole song. Da 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 da
But that's
da
not the
da
same
da.
as the victory music. I think that's two different
Well, it
things.
like fades out into that after that intro, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. It still feels like two different things to me. I feel like
Yeah.
there's a
I mean,
break.
yeah, that feels more iconic to me though. But
Well, there was also at some point there
regardless.
was I think there was a flash animation where somebody put lyrics to that song
Yeah.
Final Fantasy is the game for me, or something like
Uh,
that.
Speaking of little guys, so we get black mages selling you things in the shops, but you don't
Mm.
get to play as one. But not only
Well, you
do
don't
you
get
get
to
that
play as the sprite. Technically,
right as the
you can have a
sprite,
black
yes,
mage. Yeah.
right. So not only do you get that chocobo, but I found at least two other assortments of cute little guys walking around. One is the little beaver den.
Oh, right. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
in the caves and you're looking for, I don't know, a way through. There's something you've got to find. I don't, maybe it's captured people underground. I don't remember. But like you're exploring the dungeon and there's dead ends everywhere. And if you go into the beaver room and talk to all, or if you talk to them, they all just make like beaver noises. But one of them's not walking around. And if you talk to him, I think Guy talks to him, like can speak beaver, and he says there's a hidden passage and you have to go through the passage or something like this.
Yeah, yeah. They're pretty good.
I loved the beaver room. And also after beating the dreadnought and because like I beat that and I didn't get to the rest of the story because it felt like the game was telling me it was time to fuck around and just explore randomly rather than stay on track. And I was like, all right, good
Hmm.
enough. But one of the things that I did while fucking around and exploring was I found a little like jungle island, right?
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably where you are supposed to go next.
They said I was supposed to go to Deist or Deist to find the dragoons.
Oh, but
And I
uh,
was all like, I could do that, but they just gave me
no.
the ability to sail around the
Yeah.
whole world, and I've got okay. Yeah, I was like, they gave me the ability to sail around the whole world. I've got this character who needs to be leveled up. It's time to explore, and I found that island and I was like, the monsters do not one-shot me. I'm going to go look through it. So I found all the little guys in masks in there.
I'm going to tell you you do have to go to that island later.
Oh,
But if you read the
okay.
guide, they recommend you go there right then and get the
Well,
treasures at that point and then go to the castle Daist or whatever. So you were doing it
that's
correctly.
Well, that's what I was doing because I was, like I said, the game, because I had just gotten a new character who needed to be leveled up, and because I had just gotten complete freedom of motion, and because honestly they were a little bit vague about where Deist was, um, I was like, all right, well, I think what I'm supposed to do is fuck around and look at everything until my
Yeah.
character's high enough level.
And as it turns out, that is the only thing to look at.
Oh,
It's
okay.
that
Well,
island.
I would have figured it out, I guess.
I don't think there's anywhere else you can really access. Like, it's not like there's a bunch of interesting islands or something.
I
Um,
actually found that by using the world map. I was just
ugh.
sailing around and I like clicked into the world map to see where I was in relation to the continents and I was like, what the hell's that thing? And I went over to it.
And what I did when I got in that dungeon was there's the mask guy who sells you things,
Hmm.
and the guide said, "Hey, if nothing else, you should get in here to buy this stuff from this guy because they're really good." So I did, and then I pieced out, and I came back later because I didn't feel like doing it. It's
I
great.
think I cleared out enough of that dungeon to get to those guys, and then I was like, oh, my party's in kind of trouble, bad trouble MP wise, and I
Yeah,
can come back whenever. I
right.
probably would go back there to clear out the later floors, but
So you do get an airship in this game quite late compared to the first game.
mhm.
But you will get an airship at some point too and have free movement. But I feel like in the first game, it was much more. Once you had that airship, you really felt like, wow, I can really go everywhere. And oh my God, I
Mhm.
can go to this place now and this place, and I don't have to worry about encounters. This is so cool. And in this game, it's so late that it's kind of like you just really need it to get to this dungeon, and then like the game's almost
Yeah.
over. Just a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, that was when I got the Chocobo, it was like, oh, cool, I can technically run anywhere on the map, but it's so hard to do that it's barely worth it. And when I got the boat, I was like, okay, I can actually sail everywhere on the map, basically. Like, not everywhere, but I can see the whole coastline of all the continents. It's actually, like, pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that the first game did do better. They paced that
Mm.
out a little better.
Hmm. Yeah,
All
seems
right.
fair.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, so one thing we haven't talked a lot about yet, because I kind of started off with the idea of storytelling in games, and then we kind of moved on to all these mechanics because they're all different. But we haven't touched too much on the rotating characters who come in and out. Um, I I quite liked the system of rotating characters and the ways that they were integrated into the story and the world. Like, they were small components. It's not like some great grand storytelling arc or whatever, but they did. It wasn't just like, here's a dude, okay, he's gone. It was kind of like, well, here's the princess's aide that you've been talking to regularly. He's going to accompany you on a journey. Oh, here's an old man who's been in this town and been helping you out, and he's going to come with you. And he actually kind of has an arc. Uh Spoilers for Final Fantasy, maybe? Maybe not an arc, but spoilers for Final Fantasy 2, fucking 2 hours into the episode. So he
Hmm.
actually like dies to save you. And I
Yeah.
was not ready for this. I did not expect it. Like, this is why I lost all the stuff on him. I was like, we'll get back to town and I'll unequip him and then I'll, effectively turn in the quest, whatever, who cares. But as you're leaving the dungeon with him, a boulder starts rolling at you on screen and he like splits from your character to go stop it and gets crushed under it to save you. And I was not expecting it. And then you go back to town and you can see all the townspeople mourning and you can see his like daughters mourning him. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I fully expected like a scene where, oh no, the king has died in his bed, or oh, this guy died while he was off at, you went and did this, and then off screen the dragoon, or the not the dragoon, the dreadnought bombed everybody, and now when you come back, they're dead. I was not expecting a character with you in your party to die on screen while they were part of your party and have it be a permanent story beat. Um,
Yeah.
Later characters come in and it's like, oh yeah, this is the guy I've been talking to the whole time, and he's integrate, like he is doing something with me. He was a guy before, and at the end he's a different guy, and while, like, you know what I mean, like early on he's like kind of a loser moping around about how, oh, my brother died and I'm in love with the princess, but I don't know if I'm good enough. And then, you go off with him and you beat a dungeon, and now he comes back and he's like kind of like doing stuff, and it seems like maybe he's like kind of taken charge, and like he's had an arc by playing with you. Um they then there's this like really fan servicey pirate captain queen.
Fan
But
servicey.
well, she's the left-handed one. She's like
What are you,
quirky.
jacking off to the pixels?
She's like a manic pixie. They actually do have decent
Come
not
on.
like
You were
face
jacking off to the pixels. You freak.
not like battle screen sprites, but like when you are looking at like the stat screen, the pause menu, they have little like headshots, and
Mm.
and those actually are pretty decent. Like they're pretty damn good for video games that I'm comparing it to in this era of like that's a person. Like that's a portrait of a person and not just some pixels.
Yeah.
Um I really liked the way that this game was going about telling its story and like getting me involved in the world, right? Like it didn't just feel like, the story is there is a bad guy and you have to beat him, and the story of this side character is that he's here too. Right? It did feel like a changing, moving, breathing world with people. It's not like these are characters, right? They are still like pretty flat and cut out, but like they do things and they change and they have a place. So I was really enjoying all of that quite a bit, and I'm curious how many more of these there are, because I was not expecting to be on 4 members having already traded out and then feeling like I'm not even halfway through the game. I was expecting maybe 4 total, and maybe one of them is your long lost brother who you lose at the beginning when I started.
I think there's, from where you are, 2 more that you get.
Oh,
There's
okay.
You go
Uh,
to Deist and you get a dragoon
mhm,
who is the people who rode dragons.
mhm.
And then you get your brother, spoilers, and you keep him till the end.
Deist. I think deist is correct.
I don't know. Deist?
I think we've pronounced this with every possible vowel sound.
Deist? Is it like Geist? Or is it like deity? Don't
Yeah,
know.
oh yeah, we didn't say deist, only deist.
But yeah, it is. It's all very well integrated. I agree with you. That boulder scene in particular was really where I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
even
like
just like that he died, but just like
yeah.
that they visualized it.
Yeah, yeah, like it was, I mean, it's kind of silly and, to look at, but like it really happens on screen.
Yeah,
And it's like treated pretty seriously. Like up until this point, you like see his like little girl in the house and like his older other daughter who's just hanging around outside being like, "Oh, I'm not very close to my grandpa, and I think he's happier when I'm not around." And then after he dies, she's like in his house, like, "I have to take care of the little girl because it's what he would have wanted or whatever." Like it's crazy. There's like a little arc going on back here that, and it's yeah, it's treated very seriously. It's treated like, yeah, damn, this guy fucking sacrificed himself to save you. It's cool.
it
It's
kind of
such a
sounds
step
like,
up.
yeah, maybe you're starting to roll into your final thoughts on this game.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think it's probably time. I think we need to cut ourselves off and give our IGN ratings for Final Fantasy 2.
Yes, I suppose that's probably true. That's probably true. All right. Well, let me think here. So hold on. I want to pull up my. I forgot to pull up my score list so I know what I'm comparing it to.
All right. No, we'll all wait. We have nowhere to go.
um, yeah. So this game had a lot of ups and downs for me. Um, I am, by a modern standpoint, the storytelling is, whatever. It's there. But compared to everything else, and knowing this came out only a year after the original, the degree to which this game has characters, has a story, has a world that changes with you in it, um, is like pretty incredible. And it does intrigue me to the point where I legitimately, like I didn't really care when you spoiled the ending of the first Final Fantasy because it was like, did you know there was time travel? And I was like, I guessed. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Um, this one, I don't want you to spoil the thing for me, even the obvious Darth Vader, right? Just don't tell me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. Um, I would be interested in playing this game more just to experience more of the story of it and see where it's going and be in the world. This is a game that makes me consider um, what it is that the act of being in the game while the story is unfolding does to this perception of the story, right? Like, as opposed to, like, what if I just watched a let's play of this, right? Like,
Oh
then would
yeah.
I even enjoy the story? Um, and it's doing that in a way that feels pretty revolutionary to me. And so that's a lot of points in its favor. I also do like some of the things they're experimenting with, the more freeform leveling system, um the way that you're collecting keywords to talk. I like having access to all of the additional versatility and magic that you get with the addition of MP. um all that said, there are some pretty big downsides to this game. I did feel like my time was wasted a lot more than in the original Final Fantasy. As much as I like the saving and everything, the amount that I felt like I had to be grinding in this game was so much worse
Can we
than
just
in the
clarify?
original.
Because I feel like I think we might be using two different definitions of the word grinding, you and I.
Hmm.
When I think of grinding, I think specifically that I'm intentionally going out of my way to fight battles and level up
Hmm.
when it's not part of the story, as
Yes.
opposed to I'm in a dungeon and I'm just fighting battles.
Yes, I think both of those were worse. I think in the
Interesting.
original game, I had one section where I grinded a little bit for some gil for some spells, and then everything else I just naturally got because I was fighting enemies along the way rather than um rather than running from all of them. Even with fighting enemies along the game or along the way in this game, I think there were at least 4 or 5 different points where I just said, I need to stop and grind out gil or grind out MP or grind out health or grind out magic levels or something. Um, I think that if I were to cut out from this game all of the time that I spent bumbling around between towns and just getting my time wasted by random encounters, all of the time that I spent just kind of running in circles, grinding up points that, I hadn't gotten correctly the first time, and all of the time that I spent redoing dungeons because I died an hour in, I think I would cut my playtime on this game to less than half. Right? Of the like over a day that I spent playing, probably over 12 hours of it was that. It did make me consider, like, on the one hand, the story is elevated by being in a game, because now I get to play it. On the other hand, you have to think about things like, okay, imagine this is your favorite book you've ever read, but it's been written in such a way that every page has between 0 and 100 words at random, and you don't know how many it's going to be. And to turn the page, you have to do 20 jumping jacks. You would hate this book, right? You'd hate it. I don't care how good the book is.
This sounds kind of good, actually. I think this might be a new business we start. Excerpt books.
Excerpt books, yeah.
I'm going to cut this out. We're trademarking that.
I mean, here's the thing. That might actually work if there's a counter that ticks up every jumping jack you do, and it tracks how many you've done in total. It's got to track it. You got to gamify it. So put it all together, a lot of pros and cons with this game. I do think that it is standing up near the original Final Fantasy, though. The experience is such a mixed bag. Some of the things about how it plays I like better or worse. There aren't as many cute little guys, but there are maybe better characters. I'm going to call it a wash. I'm going to give Final Fantasy II an 8.5, same as the original.
Wow. It's very hard for me to ever predict where you're going to go with a review score.
I usually don't know myself.
But I really wasn't sure this week, especially because, in my opinion, when you gave the original Final Fantasy an 8.5, I gave it a 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think you went way too high with the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because I thought I didn't think it was as good as you did, but because I'm also looking ahead at how many Final Fantasy games there are and how much more in depth and everything they get as they go. And I was like, when you start that high at number 1, you got no room to grow. Like you're now the second game, like, and to me, I don't think this is a popular opinion. I think by and large, maybe this is because people in America didn't grow up with it. Then again, now they did because we're old. But most Final Fantasy fans, Final Fantasy II is sort of the black sheep of the series. People really don't like the leveling system in this game. They never did it again. Even at the time, I think it was well received. People were still kind of like, yeah, but don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And for my money, this game is better than the original in almost every single way. I felt way more in the first game annoyed by the battles. For whatever reason, I think it's primarily the spell system, but whatever other things might have, the fact that you couldn't save on the world map, there's lots of things. The fact that I had to buy 99 heals instead of just using a cure spell that was much easier to refill.
God, I completely forgot the buying system. Oh my God. All right. Sorry, you triggered a traumatic memory.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of things about that game that just pissed me the fuck off. And I think all of them are better in this game. The MP system is better. As a result, the combat is more interesting. The storyline and characters, is it a low bar? Yes. But is it better? Much better. The music, I think, is better, more hummable, more recognizable. One thing I really love about this game, it is less derivative of Dungeons and Dragons. The first Final Fantasy, to me, doesn't really feel like a Final Fantasy game, because so much of it is just like, yeah, that's a fucking beholder or whatever. This game, now we have characters with names. We have Chocobos. We have some elements like they're figuring out we're our own thing now. We don't need to just rip off D&D. it's like, oh, this is what a Final Fantasy game is. It's more special. It's more unique. The leveling system is flawed, but kind of cool in concept. I don't really mind it that much, and I don't mind the ask learn speech mechanic either. Overall, it's just way less tedious to play. The only thing I kind of miss about the first one, I said maybe they did the pacing of the airship better, but like, who gives a shit? There is that moment halfway through the game where all your characters sort of get their like upgraded job classes and you get bigger sprites. And that was sort of a cool moment. And this game does not have anything similar to that. And the first game also, I think, maybe had more like, you got to see dragons and dwarves and elves and stuff. In this game, it seems like pretty much everyone's just a person with some exceptions, like beavers. But other than those like small things, I just think it's just better in every single way. And now it is still, a lot of those same problems are still there. I still got very annoyed. The encounter rate is still very high. Way too high. The dungeons, I think, are too long. I think the game itself is probably too long. The systems are obscure. Were I not using a guide, I probably would have been way more pissed off by way more things. I can only imagine. So I'm still not, this game is still flawed, but overall I enjoyed my time with it. And it, I was still like, wow, if we're kicking it up this much, number 2, I can't wait to see what 3 and 4 do. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
All right. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not surprised. I mean, I do think that we swapped our opinions on how annoying the enemy encounters are in these games.
Which I am shocked. I don't understand that. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why you felt you had to grind more in this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, in the first game, because I just fought every fight that came my way, I never had to stop to do more fights because I.
But that's what I did in this. That was me in this game. I fought pretty much every fight, and I never felt like I had to stop.
I might have fucked up like some of the progressions early on. I don't know.
Maybe you like went away. You went ways you weren't supposed to go, and I was more because I was so stuck to the guide.
Yeah, that's also possible. Or maybe I was too timid about what I was doing because I can't just be like, are all my guys level 8? It's like, well, should I level up his MP? Well, is his MP at a good value given his HP and strength? I want to make sure that I'm not like lacking. It's fully possible. Yeah.
Maybe there's a weapon that's not good that you were using that, or like, at this time of the game, you should be using an axe instead of this. And
yeah, there were a couple times where I like, especially early on when I had to flip weapons and I was like, ugh, fuck, I fucked it up if I'd planned it better. It's interesting that you say people don't like this progression system because there are a lot of things about it that I like better than just the straight level up system. I think that there really is, like, the way that it's implemented does lead to some annoying grinds and some ways in which you, can be like, oh, because I didn't start this 8 hours ago, I have to now spend 8 hours getting up to speed. That can happen. But the idea that you are free to do whatever the fuck you want and you can mold your characters into whatever you want them to be based on what they do is interesting. It gives a lot more depth to your party building, to your battling, and yeah, I mean, and it also immerses you more in the story. Like, I do think that if that mechanic is less obscure and implemented to be less grindy, like, I don't understand exactly why it would be hated. Maybe people were just like, I only saw it one time, and the time that it was implemented was annoying because I wasn't used to it, and it was annoying. And so they just assume that it has to be bad in every iteration. I don't know.
I think it all comes from people who played it. Like, it's not from the people who played it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people who played it in their like teen years or their 20s or 30s after having already played 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then they were like, oh, the new remake came out or whatever. I'll go back and play 2. And they're like, what the fuck? This isn't what I want from a Final Fantasy game.
Right.
The game designer of this one was Akitoshi Kawazu. And that was his system that he came up with. And they said, we don't like that system anymore. We didn't use it going forward. He took it and
Fuck
ran.
outta here.
He came out with there's a series of RPGs, the Saga franchise started with the Romancing Saga, and then there's like Saga Frontier. And those, I've never played them, but they apparently use that system. So he found a place for it, it sounds like.
Yeah, I've never heard of these, so.
I've heard those names, but I don't know much about them.
I've heard of a saga.
But yeah, it is helpful actually. Look, it's a long episode. We could just call it here. I do not have any retro reviews this week because whatever reviews there were, we're all in Japanese. So you get what we just talked about was kind of that section. But we do have an email, and I kind of want to read it. And I think, our first Final Fantasy episode was like 3 hours long. So
yeah, I mean, I knew that this was going to be long because like there's a whole new concept I had to get into in this. So yeah, I'll hear an email. I don't mind. I'm sure the listeners love a long episode.
They love it. They eat this shit up, those fucking pigs. And this is an email calling back to last week's discussion of Kirby's Dream Land, which I think will spark an interesting discussion. It has some good thoughts in it. This comes from Steve P. And you'll remember last week we had talked about how you found Kirby's Dream Land, you found the more challenging sections frustrating, and we were trying to figure out why did you find those sort of frustrating versus other games that maybe you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Steve P. writes, since Jonathan asked, jokingly, for a diagnosis on why Will's repeated losses in Kirby's Dream Land frustrated him or let him down, I thought I would put on my armchair psychologist glasses and give it a shot.
Ooh, all right. I will confirm or deny this diagnosis.
Lie down. Mega Man, he writes, which you used as a reference for comparison, lets you switch over to a different level without having to beat any of the previous ones. Dying at the same part over and over would probably discourage a player or lead to feelings of burnout. Mega Man gives you permanent upgrades for beating a boss, which is a more tangible incentive to keep playing. Compare this to the raw satisfaction of improving and overcoming as in Kirby's Dream Land. This can take several runs through the game, sure, but this was the era where it was common to replay a game more times than you could count. As Jonathan suggested, the mindset of it's a Kirby game might have encouraged you to sightsee through each level, which did not work for the more difficult sections. You seemed to be rushing through the levels in some parts of your footage, so it's possible that you were blindsided by an unexpected challenge. Maybe I should be stopping after each one of these. Each one's a different point, but I'm going to just read the whole email.
Yeah, go for it.
Dying on bosses can feel more tedious than dying in the level leading up to the boss. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Kirby is a bit too slow to comfortably deal with Kracko and Dedede. I always feel like I'm just barely keeping up. If I know I have to stay on my toes, I have not just the threat of losing the fight, but also the threat of losing my progress through the level. If you run out of lives at a boss, some games only let you continue from the start of the level. That can be a big setback. Whereas if you had died within the level, it would be a shorter trek back to the place you died. On top of that, a level will typically have new challenges coming at you more quickly, as opposed to a single long boss encounter. Having these densely packed new obstacles could present more novelty, which might keep you more engaged as you figure the game out. I don't mean to imply that games should not have boss fights. And if you're not having fun, there's always save states. Use them if you want. And if you are satisfied with your experience, then more power to you.
No.
Don't let anyone tell you that their definition of beating the game matters more than yours. Kirby would want you to live your best life.
See, here's the problem with that, is that other people are telling me that I should use save states, not that I shouldn't. I'm the one who's stubbornly refusing against all advice. You've got it backwards.
Can we need to get to the bottom of this? We need to at least find it okay to start using save states if it's like you need to take a break from the game. I feel like you have this idea that if you're like going to eat dinner, and you're in the middle of a boss fight, you're like, doesn't matter. I must stop and I'll just have to spend an hour getting back here later. Like, it's okay to use a save state for that kind of thing. It's not cheating in any way.
I just won't start off on something that I think will take that long if I know I've got to do something. Listen,
I'm trying,
maybe,
folks. I'm trying.
Maybe if I decide to try to finish this Final Fantasy, I might use save states. I'm not gonna, but if I did, I might use save states, because what interests me about it is just seeing the story from the perspective of having played the game. It's not interesting to me to look up what the story is or watch someone else do it. But I am kind of interested in seeing it play out. So perhaps I will consider it for that. But for this podcast, I want to experience the game as it came out and as people would have played it.
But these things aren't... What I'm talking about is not the same thing. It's not as they would have played it. It's just like you have to get up for a minute.
Yeah. And if you had to do that with the original, you would have been fucked.
You can leave the TV on. No, you're not. You just leave it on.
I can leave it on. Sometimes I might do that. I'm just not leaving it on fucking for 3 days straight, like you always say. Or whatever.
Yeah, I just keep the window open because why should I close it? It just stays there. It's not, my computer has enough processing power to run a fucking NES game while I do something else. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about the fucking difficulty.
I was going to circle back to the email. The one thing in there, I feel like a lot of those things either we went over or I'm not sure they fully resonate with me, but there is one thing that Steve P mentioned in there that I hadn't thought about too much, which is he said in Mega Man, you can change what level you're trying. And I think that's really important. And it's not just important because if I get frustrated, I can go and try a different level. It's not that I'm switching up. I don't even have to go to the other level to be less frustrated. The fact that I could continue to work at making progress in Mega Man without trying this specific thing, right? I could go try something else. That, to me, makes me understand that I am here because I want to be here. Right? I know that it's not that I'm working on this boss fight because I have to do it to make progress. I'm working on this boss fight because I want to do it. How do I know that that's true? Because I could go somewhere else and make progress there instead. Right? And so even just that situation, I think actually is a big psychological help.
You don't feel trapped.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting. I think what he said also about the fact that I was realizing in Mega Man, you might die on the boss, but that usually happens in 5 seconds. And it's like, oh, the boss shot me. And then you redo the level. And like, that's where it's like, okay, I know how to get to this point. Stuff is happening. I'm climbing here. I'm shooting that guy. Whereas in Kirby, it was, no, you actually have to figure out the boss. You're spending a lot more time actually in the boss room. So you might get more burned out or bored by it versus like, oh, Cutman's here. I'm dead. Guess I'm going back. So I think good analysis overall.
Yeah.
Kirby would want you to live your best life. Well, all right. I do have to just play something real quick before we end the episode.
All right.
But I think everyone's going to agree that it's worth it. We are 3 rebels from Finn. The Emperor wants us to die. A full battalion's gonna do us in. Our names are Maria, Furion, and Guy. I just wanna make my party stronger, but it's hard to understand. Never gonna level up any of my characters. Never gonna gain a point of experience. Never get my numbers high, even though I really try. Why'd they have to make it all so mysterious? We've been adventuring for so long. I picked bad weapons, but it's too late to change it. Now I'm committed to a sword that's wrong. That's just the game and I have to play it. And all my armor stunts evasion. Nobody told me that's a thing. Never gonna level up any of my characters. Never gonna grind in combat for XP. Never get my numbers high, even though I really try. Everybody drinking potions like Pepsi. Never had to use this spell till a dozen hours in. Now I know I'm screwed, I never deployed it. Think it's gonna make me cry when I see my party die. Everybody's paralyzed and poisoned. Never gonna live, never gonna live. Never gonna live, never gonna live. I've had this party for so long. Now here's some new guy who can't defend or fight shit. I'm supposed to teach him how to hold a shield. That's hard to do when he dies in one hit. Why couldn't they make it like the first game? Wasn't hard to understand. Never gonna level up any of my characters. I can only wish them luck on their mission. Never gonna use this bow if I wanna try it though. Gonna take a lot of repetition. Never put my mage up front, never let them take a hit, so they never got a buff to their HP. My entire team just fell, entering the gates of hell. All I wanna know is why does Square hate me? Never gonna level up any of my characters. Never gonna gain.
Can't believe you pulled that one out for Final Fantasy II, the like black sheep Final Fantasy game that nobody's like heard of or played. This is gonna be. I wonder what feedback you're gonna get on this.
Yeah. It I rickrolled everybody is what I did.
Wow.
Maybe this will be the new rickroll.
The Furion roll.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed that video. You can find the individual version of it up later on next week, probably on our Worse with Games channel. Otherwise, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, Bad with Games. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/badwithgames. We do bonus episodes, including this week, where we're going to be talking about things that make us happy, which you're going to not want to miss. You're going to want to tune in for that. Trust me. And don't forget to email us, badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com. If you have thoughts about Final Fantasy II or any other aspect of video games or video game culture. Now, next week, this week was a return to the role-playing genre. Next week, we're making our second foray into the genre of fighting games. And of course, we already played Street Fighter, so if you're talking about 90s fighting games, there's another one you got to get to, and it's Mortal Kombat. And we're going to be playing not just one, but the first two Mortal Kombat games, probably just the arcade versions. We could fuck around with the SNES and Genesis ones, but I don't really think there's much point to doing that. We're just going to play 1 and 2 for a while and see how it goes.
All right.
Great.
It's exciting.
All right. We're all excited for that. Let us know what you think, folks. And otherwise, I guess that's going to do it for us. Don't forget to follow us on Bluesky at Bad With Games. And I don't know, whatever other shit's in our description.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gamers out.
Gamers out.